Chapter 1640. The reason Yi Mubai was here was because he wanted to witness Duan Lingtian being killed with his own eyes. Duan Lingtian was the person who killed his third brother. He hated Duan Lingtian so much that he wished he could tear Duan Lingtian into 1,000,000 pieces. However, he did not have the ability to do so. Therefore he could only rely on King Qian. However, it seemed like even he could not do anything to Duan Lingtian. As for the Devil Seal Tablet, he was only curious about it in the beginning. Now that he found out Duan Lingtian had killed Lin Dong, he completely lost interest in the Devil Seal Tablet. Naturally, this was also because he knew it was impossible for him to lay his hands on the Devil Seal Tablet. Yi Mubai looked at Duan Lingtian. He really wanted to charge forward and avenge his third brother with his own hands. However, as soon as the thought appeared in his mind, he recalled how Duan Lingtian could even kill a Saint Stage powerhouse. He was completely terrified. In the end, he did not even have the courage to look at Duan Lingtian. Due to the conflict between King Qian's estate and King Rong's estate, more than 90% of the people present on the scene were focused on them. It was to the extent that Duan Lingtian seemed to have been temporarily forgotten. When Duan Lingtian saw King Rong and King Qian fighting each other, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. It was a mocking sneer. Didn't he notice that the Devil Seal Tablet is not in his spatial ring? At this moment, a voice resonated in Duan Lingtian's ears. It was none other than the pagoda spirit of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, Hualao's voice. He probably didn't have the time to check if the Devil Seal Tablet was in his spatial ring. After all, the Devil Seal Tablet disappeared in his hands. According to his logic, it's impossible for the Devil Seal Tablet to appear anywhere other than in his spatial ring. Duan Lingtian replied through voice transmission. That's true. I'm afraid he wouldn't even dream that you have the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Hualao responded. Inside the first level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, Hualao stood there with a stone tablet with a chipped corner in his hand. It was none other than the Devil Seal Tablet. Previously, when Duan Lingtian tossed the Devil Seal Tablet to King Qian, he controlled the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda that had turned into dust to follow the Devil Seal Tablet. After the third level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was restored, Duan Lingtian mastered the ability to control the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Of course, he could only move the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda and nothing else. However, the displacement was enough. Earlier, when King Qian was about to put the Devil Seal Tablet into his spatial ring, Duan Lingtian had activated the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda in time and put the Devil Seal Tablet away. Since King Qian did not check if the Devil Seal Tablet had entered his spatial ring, he thought the Devil Seal Tablet was still in his spatial ring. Little did he know that the Devil Seal Tablet was not in his spatial ring at all. A dog biting another dog, a mouthful of fur. Duan Lingtian glanced at King Qian and King Rong coldly. He was happy to see the two of them fighting. In his opinion, King Qian wanted to kill him. King Qian was his enemy since he wanted to kill him. King Rong was not a good person as well. However, he was not interested in the outcome of their fight. Moreover, he knew King Qian would find out the Devil Seal Tablet was not in his spatial ring sooner or later. Due to this reason, he decided to leave. Young Master Hang, please take care of my senior brother and the others in the Situ clan's care. Duan Lingtian looked at Situ Hang and transmitted his voice. Master Duan, you're leaving? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's voice transmission, Situ Hang shifted his gaze from King Rong and King Qian to Duan Lingtian. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Naturally, Situ Hang tried to persuade him to stay. However, Duan Lingtian rejected him. After bidding farewell to Bai Li Hong and the others, Duan Lingtian left quietly. After he left, he did not return to the capital of Windfall Nation. Instead, he headed northeast. His destination was the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion. Of course, this was only his next destination. His final destination was the Green Wave Han Mansion. When he was in the capital of Windfall Nation, he had already checked the location of the Green Wave Han Mansion. However, he would have to pass through half of the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion if he were to rush there from Windfall Nation. Naturally, Bai Li Hong, Sima, and the others were reluctant to see Duan Lingtian leave. However, they knew Duan Lingtian still had things to do. To Duan Lingtian, the safety of his two fiancées was the most important thing. Duan Lingtian had briefly mentioned the purpose of his trip to Duan Lingtian before this. Due to this reason, they did not ask Duan Lingtian to stay. In the distance, King Qian and King Rong were facing each other. Apart from the two old men who were Saint Stage powerhouses, Situ Ming was also a Saint Stage powerhouse behind King Qian. There were a total of 3 Saint Stage powerhouses. Naturally, there were originally 4 of them. Yi Feng had been killed by the Devil Seal Tablet earlier. On King Rong's side, there were only 2 Saint Stage powerhouses. The other Saint Stage powerhouse was also killed by the Devil Seal tablet because he was a devil cultivator. Due to this reason, King Qian had the upper hand in the current situation. Due to this reason, King Rong could not do anything to King Qian. He could only watch as King Qian left. I should have brought a few more people with me. King Rong's expression was extremely grave. He regretted not bringing a few more Saint Stage powerhouses with him. Due to this reason, he could only watch as King Qian left. Let's go. Let's return to the mansion. Gather our men and go to Fourth Brother's King Qian's mansion. When King Rong thought about how the Devil Seal tablet had fallen into King Qian's hands, naturally he felt indignant. He gritted his teeth and brought his men back to King Rong's mansion. He planned to gather his men after he returned to King Rong's mansion to pressure King Qian to hand over the Devil Seal tablet so that he could have a share of the loot. When the people present on the scene saw King Qian and King Rong leaving, they knew there was no more drama to watch. When they regained their senses, they immediately looked at the place where Duan Lingtian was standing earlier. However, they discovered Duan Lingtian was no longer there. Where's Duan Lingtian? When did he leave? I didn't even know about it. Our attention was focused on King Rong and King Qian earlier. Not many people paid attention to him. It's normal that we didn't know about his departure. Since there was no show to watch and Duan Lingtian, the main character, was not around, the group of people began to disperse. Naturally, there were also Saint Stage powerhouses from many forces who looked at each other before they began to search the surroundings. Their goal was, naturally, to find Duan Lingtian and obtain the top human rank Saint Grade martial tactic in Duan Lingtian's possession. Moreover, Duan Lingtian possessed the top human rank Saint Grade martial tactic in the Devil Seal tablet. Perhaps he had other treasures as well. For this reason they tried their best to search for Duan Lingtian. Unfortunately, their search was destined to be in vain since Duan Lingtian had already left. Did Master Duan inform you before he left? When the people from Situ clan returned to the capital of Windfall Nation, Situ Hao asked Situ Hang through voice transmission. Situ Hang nodded. Did Master Duan return to the Situ clan? Situ Hao asked again. Situ Hang shook his head. Based on Master Duan's tone, I don't think he's going to return to the capital. Before he left, he asked me to take good care of revered Elder Bai Li and the others. It's obvious he's going on a long journey and has entrusted them to me. What a pity. Situ Hao sighed. Even he was shocked by Duan Lingtian's actions today. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so powerful. Moreover, he even possessed the Devil Seal tablet, a super saint weapon that was ranked on the 10 Great Saint Weapons ranking. In fact, Duan Lingtian was still the interim advisor of Situ clan before yesterday. It seems like Master Duan is the one who annihilated the Dark Nether sect. Since he has the Devil Seal tablet, it's not surprising that the Supreme Elder of Dark Nether sect died in his hands. Situ Hao thought to himself. However, when he thought about how the Devil Seal tablet had fallen into King Qian's hands and how the Situ clan was under King Rong's estate, he could not help but feel worried. With the Devil Seal tablet, King Qian would be like a tiger that had grown wings. At that time, even King Rong's estate might not be able to suppress him. If King Rong failed in the battle for the throne and King Qian became the new master of the Windfall Nation's imperial family, the Situ clan would definitely suffer. He knew very well how ruthless King Qian was. Due to this reason, his heart was filled with worry when he thought about this. Although Bai Li Hong and the others were traveling with the people from Situ clan, the topics of their voice transmissions were completely different. I really can't accept this. Qin Xiao Shui said through voice transmission. That's the Devil Seal tablet, one of the 10 Super Saint weapons on the 10 Great Saint Weapons ranking in the Dao Martial Saint Land. To think it was taken away by King Qian just like that. That's right. King Qian is King Rong's sworn enemy, and the Situ clan is on King Rong's side. It's not good for us if King Qian gains power. Nangongyi chimed in as well. Sima Chang Feng and the others were also worried. Bai Li Hong was the only one who was calm as though he was not worried at all. Meanwhile, King Qian had also brought his men back to his estate. When he returned to his estate, the first thing he did was to take the Devil Seal tablet out of his spatial ring with a smile on his face. However, when he wanted to take out the Devil Seal tombstone, he discovered that everything was in his spatial ring except for the Devil Seal tombstone. Impossible. This was the first thought that appeared in King Qian's mind. He felt it was impossible for the Devil Seal tablet to not be in his spatial ring since he was the one who had put it away. At that time, there was no one around him, so it was impossible for someone to snatch the Devil Seal tablet away. King Qian immediately inspected the space in his spatial ring. He looked through the items one by one, but he did not see the Devil Seal tablet at all. Beads of sweat began to form on his forehead, and his expression became extremely gloomy. What the hell is going on? Who the F***ck can tell me what's going on? At this moment, King Qian could not help but lose his composure. Fourth Imperial Highness? At this moment, the two old men behind King Qian also noticed that something was amiss. They were dumbfounded when they learned the Devil Seal tablet was not in King Qian's spatial ring. What was going on? Chapter 1641. Why is this happening? I've already put the Devil Seal tablet into my spatial ring, but why isn't it in my spatial ring? King Qian felt like he was going crazy. He was driven crazy by his spatial ring. Could it be that the broken spatial ring had swallowed the Devil Seal tablet? Fourth Imperial Highness, could it be that Duan Lingtian did something to the Devil Seal tablet? At this moment, one of the old men behind King Qian speculated. Did something? What did he do? He was so far away from me and the Devil Seal tablet was so far away from him. Don't tell me you saw the Devil Seal tablet fly back? King Qian shook his head as he recalled the scene at that time. He could not figure out how the cooked duck flew away just like that. Upon hearing King Qian's words, the two old men fell silent. As Saint Stage experts, they were very confident in their own strength and eyesight. They were certain that the Devil Seal tablet had not flown away under their noses because even if it had flown away, they would still have been able to capture the traces of it. At that time, they clearly saw the Devil Seal tablet disappear into thin air in King Qian's hand. It was obvious King Qian had put it into his spatial ring. However, King Qian said he could not find the Devil Seal tablet in his spatial ring. Fourth Imperial Highness, why don't you look for it again? The two old men could not help but ask again. They still found this matter unbelievable. How could something that was in his spatial ring disappear just like that? I've already searched every corner of the spatial ring, but I still can't find the Devil Seal tablet. How am I supposed to look for it? This is ridiculous. King Qian, who had lost his composure, lost his bearing as a prince when he spoke. He began to curse in the streets. He could not accept the disappearance of the Devil Seal tablet at all. He had taken a huge risk to bring the Devil Seal tablet back under King Rong's nose. He could almost predict King Rong would be on his way to King Qian's estate now. Moreover, he had gathered many Saint Stage powerhouses in King Rong's estate. Since King Rong knew about the Devil Seal tablet, it was impossible for him not to come for a share of the loot. If the Devil Seal tablet was still with him, he would protect it even if he had to risk his life to fight King Rong. However, the Devil Seal tablet was not in his hands now. This made him feel extremely depressed. Not only had he not obtained the Devil Seal tombstone, but he had also gotten himself into trouble. Most importantly, he didn't know why the Devil Seal tablet wasn't in his spatial ring at all because he was unable to imagine how the Devil Seal tablet had vanished into his spatial ring. He'd clearly put the Devil Seal tablet away in his spatial ring at that time. Could there be something special about the Super Saint weapons on the 10 Great Saint weapons ranking? He can even turn invisible? After a long time, King Qian could not help but let his imagination run wild. Even he could not convince himself of this. Old Four, come out. While King Qian was racking his brains, he could not figure out where the Devil Seal tablet had gone. King Rong's voice resonated from outside. As it turned out, King Rong had brought the Saint Stage powerhouses from King Rong's estate over in a menacing manner. They entered King Qian's estate as though there was no one around. Upon hearing King Rong's words, King Qian's expression turned even graver. Your Highness, Fourth Prince, King Rong is definitely here for the Devil Seal tablet, but you don't have it. Even if you tell him the truth, I'm afraid he won't believe you. Situ Ming, who had remained silent all this while, could not help but speak. He found this a little unbelievable as well. He had seen the Devil Seal tablet disappear in King Qian's hand with his own eyes. It was normal for him to keep things in his spatial ring. However, when he returned, King Qian actually said the Devil Seal tablet was not in his spatial ring. The first thought that appeared in his mind was that King Qian was acting shamelessly. He was trying to deny the fact that the Devil Seal tablet was in his hands. After all, if the news of the Devil Seal tablet being in his hands spread out, it would cause a huge impact. Naturally, he felt it was foolish of him to do so. Everyone had seen the Devil Seal tablet disappear in his hands with their own eyes. Who would believe him unless he was willing to swear on the lightning penalty oath? However, King Qian had a guilty conscience. How could he swear on the lightning penalty oath? Until now, Situ Ming was still certain the Devil Seal tablet was in King Qian's spatial ring. King Qian's behavior earlier was just an act. The purpose of this act was, naturally, to deceive the people around him. If he could not deceive the people around him, How could he deceive the outsiders? However, when King Qian brought him and the other two Saint Stage powerhouses to meet King Rong, an unexpected scene appeared. I, King Qian Zhu Xianqing, swear on the 99 heavenly tribulation that if I obtain the Devil Seal tablet today, I'm willing to be struck to death by the lightning penalty. Faced with King Rong, King Qian did not even wait for him to speak before he swore on the lightning penalty oath. Boom, 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 boom. As 9 claps of thunder reverberated in the air, the lightning penalty oath was fulfilled. However, although the lightning penalty oath was fulfilled, King Qian did not receive any punishment. The lightning penalty did not strike in time. King Rong and the Saint Stage powerhouses in King Rong's estate were stunned when King Qian swore on the lightning penalty oath so straightforwardly. Even the people by his side were stunned. Naturally, only Situ Ming and Yi Mu Bai were stunned. Yi Mu Bai had the same thought as Situ Ming. He thought King Qian was just acting earlier. However, when King Qian swore on the lightning penalty oath, it made them realize King Qian was not acting earlier. Impossible. King Rong was in disbelief when he saw King Qian swore on the lightning penalty oath, but the lightning penalty did not strike. Fourth brother, what are you trying to do? Under everyone's watchful eyes, the Devil Seal tablet disappeared after it fell into your hands. It's obvious you've kept it in your spatial ring. How dare you say you didn't obtain the Devil Seal tablet? I've already swore on the lightning penalty oath. It's up to you whether you want to believe me or not. King Qian was already in a bad mood. When he saw King Rong still did not believe him after he swore on the lightning penalty oath, he was instantly enraged. After he finished speaking, he no longer cared about King Rong. He turned around and left. The moment King Qian's words left his mouth, King Rong immediately fell silent. Nobody could violate the lightning penalty oath. This was a publicly acknowledged law in the Dao Martial Saint Land. What's going on? Although King Rong did not stop King Qian, he still looked at Situ Ming and the others and asked in a deep voice. Second Imperial Highness, we all know you want the Devil Seal tablet. However, after the Fourth Imperial Highness returned, we searched his spatial ring, but we didn't find any trace of the Devil Seal tablet at all. It's obvious Duan Lingtian didn't sincerely hand over the Devil Seal tablet. He must have used some tricks to trick the Fourth Imperial Highness into obtaining the Devil Seal tablet. In fact, the Devil Seal tablet is still in his hands. One of the two old men next to King Rong could not help but chime in. That's right. After all, the Devil Seal tablet is one of the 10 Super Saint weapons on the 10 Great Saint weapons ranking. Perhaps, it has some special ability that we don't know about. After all, our knowledge of the Devil Seal tablet is only based on the rumors in the Dao Martial Saint Land. The other old man chimed in. After they finished speaking, they chased after King Qian. Damn fourth brother. Why didn't he check his spatial ring earlier? At this moment, King Rong had no choice but to believe it even if he was unwilling. Since King Qian had already sworn on the lightning penalty oath, he had no choice but to believe it. At this moment, King Rong could only bring his men back to King Rong's estate. It was meaningless for him to continue staying in King Qian's estate. Find Duan Lingtian at all costs. I must get my hands on the Devil Seal tablet. After returning to King Rong's estate, King Rong issued a series of orders. He could not resist the temptation of the Devil Seal tablet at all. If he could obtain the Devil Seal tablet, he was confident he would become the next master of the Windfall Nation's imperial family. Fourth brother, now that Lin Dong is dead, I'm afraid you're going to have a hard time in the future, right? King Rong smiled sinisterly after he issued the order. When King Rong issued the order, King Qian, who had gradually calmed down, also issued the same order. After King Qian issued the order, he finally remembered Lin Dong, who had died in the hands of Duan Lingtian. He broke out in cold sweat immediately. Damn it! I'm the one who invited Lin Dong from the Lin clan. Many people in the Lin clan know about this. Now that Lin Dong has died in Windfall Nation, the Lin clan won't take this into consideration even though he was killed in a death duel. They'll only think that I'm the one who invited Lin Dong to Windfall Nation and that's why he was killed. The moment King Qian thought of this, he felt extremely aggrieved. He felt like he had gone for wool and come home shorn. Although they were both sixth-rate forces, and the Windfall Nation's imperial family was not afraid of the Lin clan, King Qian was in the wrong. Due to this reason, even the Windfall Nation's imperial family could not protect King Qian too much. King Qian still had to clean up his own mess. Lin Dong was dead, and the Devil Seal tablet had appeared. With the end of the death duel between Duan Lingtian and Lin Dong, these two pieces of news swept through the entire Windfall Nation's capital like a hurricane. Not only that, but it also spread in all directions. With this speed, it would not take long for the news to spread in the entire Windfall Nation and the entire southern Ridge Yuan Mansions district. Who was Lin Dong? He was the strongest powerhouse on the heaven ranking. Moreover, he was killed after breaking through to the Saint stage. When the news spread, it was enough to set off a storm in the entire southern Ridge Yuan Mansions district. Naturally, Lin Dong's death was not the most shocking news. The most shocking news was the appearance of the Devil Seal Tablet. The Devil Seal Tablet was one of the famous Super Saint weapons on the 10 Great Saint weapons ranking in the Dao Martial Saint Land. Let alone the southern Ridge Yuan Mansion, even in the entire Dao Martial Saint Land, there were many people who coveted it. Due to this reason, one could foresee that when this news spread out, there would definitely be many powerhouses who would go crazy over it. When these two pieces of news exploded in the capital of Windfall Nation, a travel-worn figure entered the capital of Windfall Nation. After he arrived at the capital of Windfall Nation, his first destination was the Situ clan. I'm looking for Situ Hao. When this person entered the Situ clan, he did not enter through the main entrance. Instead, he flew directly above the Situ clan's estate. His voice was like a clap of thunder that reverberated through the entire Situ clan. Chapter 1642. It was obvious he was a Saint stage powerhouse since he was able to fly in the sky above the capital of Windfall Nation. It was obvious he was not an ordinary Saint stage powerhouse since he dared to arrogantly say he was looking for Situ Hao in the sky above the Situ clan's estate. Otherwise, he would not have dared to be so arrogant. Who dares to be so presumptuous in my Situ clan? Almost at the same time when the black-clad man's voice alerted the entire Situ clan, an angry and old voice resonated from afar. After a while, an old man appeared in front of the black-clad man. The old man was well-built with white hair and a youthful face. His eyes were filled with coldness as he looked at the black-clad man. You're even wearing a mask. You're Situ Hao? After the old man appeared, the black-clad man wearing a grimace mask asked nonchalantly. The old man's white hair was tied behind his back, giving him a sage-like appearance. His entire body exuded an otherworldly aura as well. Who are you? The old man with white hair and a youthful face did not answer the black-clad man. Instead he asked in a deep voice. Noisy. The moment the old man's words left his mouth, the black-clad man shouted in a deep voice and raised his hand. He did not seem to have made any other movements. Immediately, a majestic force caused the space to tremble. It was like the surface of a calm lake that rippled when a rock fell. Then it pressed down on the old man. A moment later, it pressed down on the old man. At the same time, true origin began to surge out of the old man's body as his expression turned solemn. Based on the aura of his true origin, it was obvious he was not an ordinary Saint stage powerhouse. Boom. However, faced with the black-clad man's energy, the moment the old man's true origin surged out, it was mercilessly crushed. In just an instant, the old man's body trembled before he was sent flying. He only managed to stabilize his body after flying 100 meters away. S refined Saint stage. Who are you? The old man spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. He was so wretched that he seemed to have turned into an old beggar. When he looked at the black-clad man again, his eyes were filled with dread. Old ancestor. Before the black-clad man could speak, another voice resonated. Following that, a middle-aged man appeared. It was none other than the clan leader of Situ clan, Situ Hao. Based on how Situ Hao addressed the old man was obviously the old ancestor of the Situ clan. Let me ask again, are you Situ Hao? Although the black-clad man's face was covered by the mask, his cold eyes were exposed. When he looked at the Situ clan's ancestor, the latter felt as though he had fallen into an ice cave. Senior, I am Situ Hao. Seeing his old ancestor injured to this extent, although Situ Hao realized that the other party did not come with good intentions, he could only brace himself and come forward. His heart was filled with confusion. Based on what the old ancestor said earlier, this masked black-clad man is actually a refined Saint stage powerhouse? That's right. The old ancestor is currently at the peak of the pristine Saint stage. Only a powerhouse at the refined Saint stage or above would be able to injure him to this extent in just a blink of an eye. Thinking of this, Situ Hao's heart could not help but tremble. Even in the entire Windfall Nation's imperial family, there were only a handful of refined Saint stage powerhouses. In Windfall Nation, apart from the few powerhouses in the Windfall Nation's imperial family, only sect leader Zi Yun from Drift Blaze sect was a refined Saint stage powerhouse. The Saint stage was also divided into 3, 6, and 9 levels. Those who had just broken through to the Saint stage were at the pristine Saint stage. The Pristine Saint stage was divided into 4 levels, namely the Early Pristine Saint stage, the Intermediate Pristine Saint stage, the Mastery Pristine Saint stage, and the Peak of the Pristine Saint stage. After the Pristine Saint stage was the Refined Saint stage. Such powerhouses usually only existed in 6th-rate forces. Naturally, there were also some 7th-rate forces that had Refined Saint stage powerhouses. The Drift Blaze sect happened to be such a 7th-rate force. Even if there was only one 7th-rate force that had a Refined Saint stage powerhouse, it would still stand out among the other 7th-rate forces. Situ Hao himself was only at the Intermediate Pristine Saint stage. He could not even be compared to the old ancestor of Situ clan, let alone a Refined Saint stage powerhouse who was stronger than the old ancestor of Situ clan. You're Situ Hao, the current clan leader of Situ clan? The black-clad man asked as he glanced at Situ Hao indifferently. Due to the fact that he was wearing a grimacing mask, his expression could not be seen clearly. Due to this reason, Situ Hao was very anxious. He did not know why such a Refined Saint stage powerhouse would come to the Situ clan to look for him. Yes. However, Situ Hao did not dare to slack off when faced with the black-clad man's question. He quickly nodded and asked anxiously, "Senior, I'm honored by your presence. May I know the reason for your visit?" At this moment, the Situ clan's ancestor, that white-haired old man with a ruddy complexion, was already standing beside Situ Hao. However, when he looked at the black-clothed man, his face was filled with fear. In the depths of his eyes there was even some fear. The other party's strength was just too strong. Even though he was a powerhouse at the peak of the Pristine Saint stage, he did not even have the strength to fight back when the other party made his move earlier. He's at least at the Intermediate Refined Saint stage. He was almost certain about this. At this moment, a figure was hovering in the sky not far away. It was as though his feet were rooted to the ground. This person was none other than Situ Ho, the supreme elder of Situ clan. He had personally witnessed his own old ancestor being crushed and heavily injured by the black-clad man with just one move. At that moment he knew he was just an ant in the other party's eyes. At the same time he was so frightened that he could not even move his feet. This was because the other party's strength had shocked him too much. The other party's strength made him feel fear from the bottom of his heart and soul. "I heard your Situ clan has an interim advisor called Duan Lingtian?" The black-clad man asked again as he looked at Situ Hao. "You're here to look for Master Duan?" Upon hearing Situ Hao's words, Situ Hao could not help but be stunned. It did not cross his mind that this Refined Saint stage powerhouse was here to look for their Situ clan's former interim advisor, Duan Lingtian. "Master Duan is no longer the interim advisor of our Situ clan." Situ Hao smiled wryly. "No longer the interim advisor of your Situ clan? What do you mean?" The black-clad man's eyes turned cold and his voice turned deep. Apart from that, there was a hint of coldness in his voice that sent chills down Situ Hao's spine. "To tell you the truth, Master Duan has already left the Situ clan a few days ago." Situ Hao smiled wryly. "Left?" The black-clad man's voice turned even deeper. "Where did he go?" "Senior, I'm afraid you don't know about the 2 pieces of news that have been spreading in the capital recently, right?" Situ Hao asked. He could see that the other party was covered in dust. It was obvious that the other party had just arrived in the capital. Moreover, it was obvious that the other party did not know about the 2 pieces of news that had been spreading in the capital for the past few days. Otherwise he would not have come to the Situ clan. "What news?" the black-clad man asked impatiently. Situ Hao panicked when he heard the impatience in the black-clad man's voice. He did not dare to dawdle and hurriedly told him about the 2 pieces of news. He told him about what had happened after Duan Lingtian had announced his departure from the Situ clan. Duan Lingtian killed Lin Dong from the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's Lin clan, the strongest powerhouse in the heaven ranking. When he heard this news, even the black-clothed man's pupils couldn't help but shrink slightly. Moreover, he killed Lin Dong after he had broken through to the saint stage? The black-clad man's eyes were filled with shock when he learned about this. A Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator had killed a Saint stage powerhouse? Although it was a sneak attack and the Saint stage powerhouse had just broken through to the Saint stage, Duan Lingtian's strength still shocked him. Is he even human? This was the first thought that appeared in his mind. He had never heard of such a person in the Dao martial Saint land. Killing a Saint stage powerhouse with a strength that was not at the Saint stage was simply heaven-defying. However, when another piece of news reached the black-clothed man's ears, the news about Lin Dong's death was thrown to the back of his mind. Devil Seal Tablet? One of the 10 great Super Saint weapons on the 10 great Saint weapons ranking? It was used by Duan Lingtian and killed 2 Saint Stage Devil cultivators consecutively? The black-clad man's eyes lit up when he learned about the Devil Seal Tablet. His breathing quickened. The Devil Seal Tablet. That was an absolute treasure. King Qian's estate? The black-clad man left in just a blink of an eye when he found out the Devil Seal Tablet was in King Qian's possession. It was as though he had vanished into thin air before Situ Hao's eyes. After the black-clad man left, Situ Hao heaved a long sigh of relief. At this moment, cold sweat was breaking out on his forehead. Since the news of King Qian swearing on the lightning penalty oath that he did not possess the Devil Seal Tablet had not spread out yet, Situ Hao was unaware that the Devil Seal Tablet was not in King Qian's possession. Otherwise, he would not have told the black-clad man that the Devil Seal Tablet was in King Qian's possession. Ancestor, is he really a refined Saint Stage powerhouse? After taking a deep breath, Situ Hao could not help but look at the white-haired old man next to him and asked carefully. Yes, he's a refined Saint Stage powerhouse. Moreover, he's at the intermediate refined Saint Stage at the very least. The old man nodded with certainty. I'm completely powerless before him. Only a powerhouse at the intermediate refined Saint Stage or above can give me this feeling. Intermediate refined Saint Stage. Situ Hao's heart jolted when he heard this. In fact, even in the Windfall Nation's imperial family, there was only one intermediate refined Saint Stage powerhouse. He was the most powerful person in the Windfall Nation's imperial family. The black-clad man earlier was actually such a powerful person? Similar to the pristine Saint Stage, the refined Saint Stage was also divided into the early, intermediate, mastery and peak stage. Each stage had a different strength. I can't believe there's such a pleasant surprise even though I didn't manage to find Duan Lingtian. If I can obtain the Devil Seal Tablet, I'll be able to trample on that old man. I, Jing Yuan, will replace him as the new leader of the Mountain Shade Black Markets branch in Windfall Nation. Chapter 1643. The black-clad man wearing a grimace mask was none other than Jing Yuan, the second strongest powerhouse in the Mountain Shade Black Markets branch in Windfall Nation. Jing Yuan's strength was only inferior to Hong Zhen, the leader of the Mountain Shade Black Markets branch in Windfall Nation. Hong Zhen was a devil cultivator. If Jing Yuan obtained the Devil Seal Tablet, Hong Zhen would not be a match for him at all. Due to this reason, Jing Yuan desired the Devil Seal Tablet so much. However, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Everyone in King Qian's estate was, naturally, powerless when faced with Jing Yuan. What a joke. Jing Yuan was a powerhouse at the intermediate refined Saint Stage. Even in the Windfall Nation's imperial family, there was only one person who was qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as him. In front of such a powerhouse, the group of Saint Stage powerhouses in King Qian's estate were as docile as a group of cats under King Qian's leadership. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. Senior, I've already sworn on the lightning penalty oath that the Devil Seal Tablet is really not in my hands. During these few days I've thought about it carefully. It should be that the Devil Seal Tablet has some other special ability that allows Duan Lingtian to retrieve it from afar. King Qian smiled wryly as he told Jing Yuan. Duan Lingtian? Jing Yuan's face that was hidden under the grimace mask turned grave immediately. His eyes gleamed coldly. Do you know where he is now? To be honest with you, Senior, we've been looking for him these few days as well. However, we didn't manage to find any clues at all. I'm guessing he must have left the capital that day. Currently, there are many people looking for him in Windfall Nation. After a while, when the news spread out, I'm afraid there will be even more people looking for him. At that time, I'm afraid there won't be a place for him in Windfall Nation. King Qian speculated, it's very likely that he'll choose to leave Windfall Nation. Jing Yuan agreed with King Qian's words. Once the news of the Devil Seal Tablet spread out, it would indeed attract many powerhouses to Windfall Nation. According to what you said, Duan Lingtian cooperated and gave the Devil Seal Tablet to you that day. With your relationship with him, it's impossible for him to be so kind, right? Jing Yuan asked. Yes. That Duan Lingtian wouldn't have left so easily if he had wanted to kill me and check my storage ring. Now that I think about it, he must have deliberately given me the Windfall Nation in order to attract everyone's attention, and he quietly left when everyone's attention was on me. The more King Qian thought about it, the more certain he became. This means the Devil Seal Tablet must be in his hands. I'm sure. Jing Yuan's eyes flashed. He was silent for a moment and did not speak. At this moment, King Qian and the group of Saint Stage powerhouses behind him looked anxious. They were afraid Jing Yuan would kill them if he was unhappy. They already knew Jing Yuan's strength now. When Jing Yuan arrived, Situ Ming had directly attacked Jing Yuan in order to flatter King Qian. The result was obvious. Situ Ming was killed in one move. From beginning to end, Jing Yuan did not even move at all. He just used the power of his domain to insta-kill Situ Ming. He was able to kill an intermediate pristine Saint Stage martial cultivator with such a technique. Without a doubt, Jing Yuan was a refined Saint Stage powerhouse. The group of Saint Stage powerhouses in King Qian's estate could confirm this. Due to this reason, they were well behaved in front of Jing Yuan and did not dare to cross the line. When King Qian and the others saw Jing Yuan suddenly raising his hand, horror dawned on them. They thought Jing Yuan was going to attack them. King Qian was just about to open his mouth and beg for mercy when he saw the scene in front of him. He knew he had misunderstood the situation. The black-clad man wearing a grimace mask did not intend to attack them. He raised his hand and took out a rolled-up portrait. Look at this. Isn't the person in this portrait the Duan Ling Tian you've seen before? As Jing Yuan spoke, he unfolded the portrait. He had copied this portrait from the portrait in the hands of the leader of the Mountain Shade Black Markets branch in Windfall Nation. It was a handsome young man with an extraordinary temperament. He had dashing eyebrows and bright eyes. At first glance he gave off a refreshing feeling. After unfolding the portrait, Jing Yuan looked at King Qian and asked indifferently, "Is this him?" "It's him. That's right. It's him." King Qian quickly nodded after taking a look at it. At the same time he took out a portrait and unfolded it. "Senior, look at this portrait of mine." After unfolding the portrait there was also a young man in it. He was at least 90% similar to the young man in the portrait in Jing Yuan's hand. With just a glance, one could tell the two young men in the portrait were the same person. As expected. He's the person our Mountain Shade Black Market is looking for. Jing Yuan's breathing quickened when he looked at the portrait in King Qian's hand. After a few moments, Jing Yuan looked at King Qian and asked indifferently, "Do you know if Duan Ling Tian has any relatives or friends in Windfall Nation?" "I only know that Duan Ling Tian is very close to Situ Hang, the great young master of Situ clan. Apart from that, he brought a group of people to settle down in the Situ clan. Those people are currently staying in the Situ clan." King Qian told him everything he knew. Faced with a powerhouse like Jing Yuan, he did not dare to conceal anything nor did he dare to exaggerate anything. Who knew if he would offend Jing Yuan or not? If Jing Yuan was unhappy and wanted to kill him, he would not know who he could turn to for help. Situ clan? Upon hearing the information King Qian provided, Jing Yuan's eyes lit up. He left King Qian's estate in a flash and came to the Situ clan again. "Senior." When Situ Hao saw the refined Saint Stage powerhouse who was wearing a grimace mask had returned, he felt anxious as well. He had a respectful expression on his face. "I heard that your son, Situ Hang, is very close to Duan Ling Tian? Apart from that, Duan Ling Tian even brought a group of people to settle down in the Situ clan?" Jing Yuan asked as he glanced at Situ Hao indifferently. Faced with the domineering Jing Yuan, although Situ Hao did not want his son and Duan Ling Tian's relatives and friends to meet Jing Yuan, he did not have a choice at this moment. If he offended Jing Yuan, the entire Situ clan would be in danger. Fortunately, as a refined Saint Stage powerhouse, Jing Yuan did not make things difficult for Situ Hang, Bai Li Hong and the others. After the few of them swore on the lightning penalty oath that they really did not know where Duan Ling Tian was, Jing Yuan left. The lightning penalty oath was enough to prove if a person was lying or not. If Duan Ling Tian was here, he would definitely heave a sigh of relief. It was fortunate he did not tell Bai Li Hong and the others where he was going. Otherwise they would definitely be put in a difficult position. Even if they chose to die, they would not betray him. When Jing Yuan left the capital of Windfall Nation, the news of a person who seemed to be a refined Saint Stage powerhouse coming to King Qian's estate and forcing King Qian to swear on the lightning penalty oath spread out. Naturally, most people's attention was on the lightning penalty oath. King Qian swore on the lightning penalty oath. King Qian swore on the lightning penalty oath that he did not obtain the Devil Seal tablet at all? Many people were stunned when they heard the news. What a joke. A few days ago, I saw Duan Ling Tian passing the Devil Seal tablet to King Qian with my own eyes. King Qian had also put the Devil Seal tablet away in his spatial ring. Now, King Qian is saying he did not obtain the Devil Seal tablet? Who would believe that? Some people could not help but curse out loud. Then, how do you explain the lightning penalty oath? If one goes against the lightning penalty oath, nobody will be able to escape the punishment of the lightning penalty oath. That's right. I think King Qian must be telling the truth. Otherwise he would have been killed by the lightning penalty by now. As time passed, the news of King Qian swearing on the lightning penalty oath was verified. Even those who did not believe King Qian did not obtain the Devil Seal tablet had no choice but to accept this fact. After accepting this fact, they could not help but think of Duan Lingtian. That day, Duan Lingtian passed the Devil Seal tablet to King Qian, and King Qian put the Devil Seal tablet away in his spatial ring. At the very least in our eyes, King Qian had put the Devil Seal tablet away. From the beginning until the end, our attention was focused on King Qian. It was to the extent that we did not notice Duan Lingtian at all. We didn't even know when Duan Lingtian left. That's right. That was indeed the case at that time. Now that I think about it, all of this must be one of Duan Lingtian's schemes. He must have a way to retrieve the Devil Seal tablet from afar. That's why he purposely created the illusion that King Qian obtained the Devil Seal tablet to divert our attention so that he could leave. If that's the case, Duan Lingtian is really terrifying. Under such circumstances, he can still think of a way to deal with it so calmly. After all, if he made a single mistake, he would have been doomed eternally. Indeed. As long as King Qian checked the spatial ring and swore on the lightning penalty oath that he did not obtain the Devil Seal tablet, everyone's attention would have shifted back to Duan Lingtian. It would have been impossible for Duan Lingtian to leave. Similar discussions could be heard everywhere in the capital of Windfall Nation. Many people admired Duan Lingtian from the bottom of their hearts. They knew they might not be able to escape unscathed under such circumstances. However, Duan Lingtian did it. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of everything that happened in the capital of Windfall Nation. At this moment, he had already left Windfall Nation and entered the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's district. Naturally, even Windfall Nation was considered a part of the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's district. To be more precise, Duan Lingtian had entered the central district of the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's district. There were no sixth-rate saint nations here. There were only sixth-rate clans and sixth-rate sections. Naturally, the strongest force here was still the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion. Not only was the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion a general name for a district in the Dao Martial Saint Land, but it also represented a powerful fifth-rate force that ruled a district. Naturally, to Duan Lingtian, the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion was merely a passerby on his journey. His destination was the Greenwave Han Mansion. Similar to the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion, the Greenwave Han Mansion was also a powerful fifth-rate force in the Dao Martial Saint Land that ruled a district. So, a figure flew across the sky. It was none other than Duan Lingtian. Chapter 1644. When Duan Lingtian was making his way to the Greenwave Han Mansion, a piece of shocking news spread out in Windfall Nation. It did not take long before it shocked more than half of the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion. Naturally, this was because there was not enough time. After a while, this piece of shocking news would shake the entire Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion. Even the regions outside of the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion would be shocked. This was because this news was related to one of the 10 Great Super Saint Weapons on the 10 Great Saint Weapons ranking, the Devil Seal Tablet. Due to the Devil Seal Tablet's special ability to suppress devil cultivators, it was one of the top weapons on the 10 Great Saint Weapons ranking. Its appearance was enough to drive many people crazy. There was no lack of powerful Saint Stage Martial and Dao cultivators among them. When the news first spread out, it said that Prince King Qian of the Windfall Nation's imperial family had obtained the Devil Seal Tablet. However, another piece of news spread out. King Qian swore on the lightning penalty oath that he did not obtain the Devil Seal Tablet. It was impossible for a lightning penalty oath to be false. The news of the death duel between Duan Lingtian and Lin Dong and the situation at that time spread out as well. For a time, Duan Lingtian became the target of public criticism. More than 90% of the people concluded that the Devil Seal Tablet was still in Duan Lingtian's hands. However, Duan Lingtian was nowhere to be found. Even so, it could not stop the powerhouses from all over from heading to the Windfall Nation. To them, the news was spread by people. It could not be taken seriously. Only when they witnessed King Qian swore on the lightning penalty oath would they believe that he was not lying. Due to this reason, King Qian was extremely depressed for a very long time. This was because every once in a while, there would be powerful existences that he could not afford to offend who would come looking for him and ask him to swear on the lightning penalty oath. He had sworn on the same lightning penalty oath so many times that he had lost count. Fourth Imperial Highness, the Lin clan is here. King Qian, who had just sent off a powerhouse, was quickly greeted with another report. As soon as the person who reported entered the main hall, two people followed behind him. It was a middle-aged man in green robes and a white-haired old man behind him. At this moment, the green-clad middle-aged man's expression was slightly gloomy. His gaze was cold as he looked at King Qian. Why did you come in by yourselves? This is King Qian's estate. How can you be so presumptuous? At this moment, the guard from King Qian's estate who came in to report the news also noticed the two people who had followed him into the main hall. He turned around and said angrily. However, this would also be the last sentence he would say. Humph. Accompanied by a cold snort, the old man behind the green-robed middle-aged man moved. He raised his hand, formed a sword finger and then pointed. Whoosh. In the next moment, a short-lived sword cry resonated in the air. A bloody hole appeared between the guard's brows before he fell to the ground, dead. Lin. Senior Lin. Upon seeing the green-robed middle-aged man, King Qian's face instantly turned pale. This was because he had seen this green-robed middle-aged man before. He was the third master of the Lin clan in the southern Ridgyuan mansion, Lin Zhan. He was also Lin Dong's biological father. Zhu Shenqing, how are you going to explain this to me? Will you be the only one to die, or will King Qian's estate die with you? Lin Zhan's eyes gleamed coldly. His voice was so cold that it sounded as though it came from hell. It made people feel as though they had fallen into an ice cave. Even though he had 3 sons and 2 of them were stronger than Lin Dong, he had no choice. However, Lin Dong was the most outstanding among his 3 sons. He was ranked first on the heaven ranking at such a young age and was known as the strongest person below the saint stage in the southern Ridgyuan mansion. Due to this reason, he did not stop Lin Dong when he said he wanted to follow Zhu Shenqing, the 4th prince of the Windfall Nation's imperial family, to deal with a Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator. In his opinion, nobody below the saint stage was a match for his son in the southern Ridgyuan mansion's territory. However, after a few months, the news that came from Windfall Nation caused him to truly experience pain. The youngest son he doted on the most had actually died in Windfall Nation. When he heard the news, he immediately came to Windfall Nation and King Qian's estate in the capital of Windfall Nation. His purpose was simple. He wanted to settle the score with King Qian. If King Qian did not look for his son would not have died. Senior Lin, I'm saddened by Mr. Lin's death as well. I didn't expect Duan Lingtian would be stronger than Mr. Lin. I didn't expect he would be able to kill Mr. Lin even after Mr. Lin had broken through to the saint stage. Although King Qian knew this moment would come sooner or later, he could not help but feel a sense of dread when it finally arrived. While King Qian was having a headache over the arrival of Lin Dong's father, Lin Zhan, many powerhouses entered Windfall Nation. Their destination was the capital of Windfall Nation. As time passed by, all of the powerhouses who left King Qian's estate began to target Duan Lingtian, junior brother. In the Situ clan's estate, Bai Li Hong had a worried expression on his face. Previously, when he saw his junior brother handing the Devil Seal tablet to King Qian, he had asked his junior brother about it. However, the answer he received was for him to watch a good show. It was only recently that he finally understood the meaning of his junior brother's words. As it turned out, his junior brother did not really give the Devil Seal tablet to King Qian. What he saw at that time was merely a smokescreen. The Devil Seal tablet was still in his junior brother's hands. Now that he found out the powerhouses from various places had begun to search for Duan Lingtian after leaving King Qian's estate, he could not help but break out in cold sweat for Duan Lingtian. Sima Changfeng, Qin Shaoshuai, Xiong Quan, and the others were also worried about Duan Lingtian. In the forbidden area of Drift Blaze Sect. Above the volcano where lava was gushing out, a figure suddenly walked out of the lava that was as vast as a flood. The figure was like a fire spirit that walked out of the lava without any injuries. It was a woman dressed in fiery red robes. She had a peerless appearance. The moment she appeared, it seemed as though everything around her paled in comparison. I've finally broken through. Is this the saint stage? As the woman muttered to herself, a wave of fiery red energy suddenly surged out of her body. It emitted a scorching aura like lava. It's just like what Master said. Once I break through to the saint stage with the cultivation method I cultivate, I'll be able to produce the fire attribute True Origin, the woman continued to murmur. Unknowingly, a smile appeared on her face. I can finally look for elder brother Duan? Yes, I'll go to father's place first. This woman who was like a fire spirit was none other than Lady Feng from Drift Blaze Sect. She was also known as Feng Tianwu. Previously, when Feng Tianwu came out of closed-door cultivation, she had already met Feng Wu Dao who stayed in Drift Blaze Sect. At that time, the father and daughter who had not seen each other for a long time were exceptionally excited. In order to stay by Duan Lingtian's side as soon as possible, Feng Qianwu accompanied her father for a period of time before she immersed herself in her cultivation. Today she had finally broken through to the saint stage. Due to the reason that she had been in closed-door cultivation, Feng Qianwu was unaware of what had happened outside. Coincidentally, ever since Feng Wudao came to Drift Blaze sect, he had been living in seclusion, so he was unaware of what had happened outside as well. It was only until the father and daughter went to look for Ziyun, the sect leader of Drift Blaze sect, and told her that they were going to look for Duanling Tian that they finally learned about what had happened outside from Ziyun. The strongest powerhouse in the heaven ranking, Lin Dong from the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's Lin clan, challenged elder brother Duan? After learning about this, Feng Qianwu could not help but break out in cold sweat for Duanling Tian. Although she had never had any dealings with the strongest powerhouse in the heaven ranking, she knew his strength was extraordinary. Otherwise, he would not be widely acknowledged as the strongest powerhouse below the saint stage in the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's district. When Feng Qianwu learned that Duanling Tian had transformed his territory into a sword that was much faster than Lin Dong, she smiled. I can't believe elder brother Duan is so strong. However, when she learned that Lin Dong had broken through to the saint stage at the critical moment, horror dawned on her face. At this moment the situation took a turn. She learned that Duanling Tian had taken out the Devil Seal tablet at the critical moment and diverted everyone's attention, including Lin Dong. At the same time he had killed Lin Dong. With just one sword strike, he had killed Lin Dong, who had broken through to the saint stage. Big brother Duan's strength is actually so strong? Feng Qianwu was shocked by Duanling Tian's strength. Not only that, but she had also figured out that the Devil Seal tablet Duanling Tian had taken out was the incomplete stone tablet that Duanling Tian had lent her previously. Previously she did not know what the Devil Seal tablet meant. However, after coming to the Dao Martial Saint land, she found out that the Devil Seal tablet was one of the Super Saint weapons on the 10 Great Saint weapons ranking. Elder brother Duan actually gave the Devil Seal tablet to King Qian? When Feng Qianwu heard that Duanling Tian had given the Devil Seal tablet to King Qian, she could not help but frown. Although she knew her elder brother Duan had done that for the sake of expediency, she could empathize with her elder brother Duan's reluctance. However, when she learned that King Qian did not obtain the Devil Seal tablet and that it was most likely with her elder brother Duan, she smiled again. However, when she heard that many powerhouses were looking for her elder brother Duan with the intention of snatching the Devil Seal tablet from her elder brother Duan, she could not help but feel worried. Father, Master, I want to look for elder brother Duan. Feng Qianwu looked at Feng Wudao and Ziyun with a determined expression on her face. Jianghu, I know how you feel. Ziyun shook her head. However, do you know where your elder brother Duan is right now? Before he left, he did not even inform the people around him about his whereabouts. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack if you want to look for him. Master, I want to try. Feng Qianwu had a determined expression on her face. She was most worried about Duanling Tian's safety. Before she saw Duanling Tian, she would not be able to feel at ease. Tianwu, you should know that I've told you before that you're not allowed to leave the sect before you've broken through to the saint stage. Ziyun told Feng Qianwu. Due to the uniqueness of the Blazing Phoenix progeny's mental cultivation method, Feng Qianwu's aura did not leak out even though she had already broken through to the saint stage. Chapter 1645. Tianwu, why we broken through to the saint stage? When Ziyun sensed the aura on Feng Qianwu's body, her eyes could not help but narrow as joy appeared on her face. Yes. Feng Qianwu nodded with a smile. However, a hint of worry could be seen between her brows. She was worried about Duanling Tian's safety. A saint stage? Has broken through to the saint stage? Feng Wudao, who was standing by the side, was completely stunned. He stared at his daughter in a daze and could not regain his senses for a long time. Naturally, he knew very well what the saint stage meant. Although he knew his daughter was only a step away from the saint stage, his heart was still filled with shock when he learned that his daughter had already broken through to the saint stage. After all, this was his daughter whom he had watched grow up. When he recalled the past, he sighed again in his heart. At the same time, he was filled with gratitude toward Duanling Tian. It was all because of Duanling Tian that his daughter was able to get rid of the fire spirit body and break the shackles of fate, allowing her to achieve what she had today. Since Feng Qianwu had already broken through to the saint stage, Ziyun, naturally, no longer had an excuse to make her stay. Although she wanted to go back on her words, she did not do so in the end. This was because she knew her disciple would be disgusted if she did so. It was not a good thing for her. In order not to affect her disciple's image, she agreed to let Feng Qianwu leave. Since Feng Qianwu wanted to leave, Feng Wudao, naturally, did not plan to stay in the Drift Blaze sect any longer. He planned to go to the Situ clan in the capital of Windfall Nation to reunite with Bai Li Hong, Sima Changfeng, and the others. After Feng Wudao and his daughter left the Drift Blaze sect, Ziyun entered the forbidden area of the Drift Blaze sect. It was the belly of an active volcano. There was a spacious secret underground chamber inside. The walls of the secret underground chamber were fiery red and emitted waves of scorching aura. However, Ziyun was not affected by the heat when she arrived here. Sect leader Ziyun. At a corner of the secret room, the gray-clothed old woman who was sitting cross-legged on the stone bed seemed to have sensed something and suddenly opened her eyes. When she discovered that the person who came was Ziyun, she immediately got off the bed and faintly greeted her. "Black Crow, I have something for you to do. Once you're done with this, you'll be free." Ziyun lightly glanced at the gray-clothed old woman and said, "You're finally going to use up the promise I made to you?" The gray-clothed old woman, who was also known as the Black Crow, asked in surprise. Her turbid eyes suddenly flashed with a bright light. Back then Ziyun had saved her life. She was not an ungrateful person. From that moment on, she followed Ziyun back to the Drift Blaze sect and made a promise that she would only leave the Drift Blaze sect after she had repaid Ziyun for saving her life. This wait lasted for 20 years. She naturally longed for freedom, but in her opinion, only the freedom after repaying the debt of gratitude for saving her life was what she wanted. Otherwise, she would not be able to get over the hurdle in her heart. Originally, the Black Crow thought that Ziyun would never need to use the promise she made back then because with Ziyun's strength, there was really nothing that she needed her help with. Especially in recent years, the gap between her and Ziyun had become wider. She had even prepared for the worst, which was to stay in the Drift Blaze sect for the rest of her life. Today, Ziyun's arrival was like a ray of light that shone into a dark corner, causing the Black Crow's heart that had been silent for many years to become active again. "As long as you do this well, we'll be even," Ziyun said. "Speak." The Black Crow took a deep breath and asked bluntly. No matter what the other party requested, as long as she could do it, she would not refuse. "Now that my direct disciple has left the Drift Blaze sect, she should be staying outside for a long time. I want you to stay by her side and protect her until her strength surpasses yours. At that time we'll be even. You can leave the Drift Blaze sect and live the life you want." Ziyun did not beat around the bush and said bluntly, "Is it little Feng?" It was apparent that the Black Crow knew about Feng Qianwu. "Yes." Ziyun nodded. "She has broken through to the Saint stage?" The Black Crow asked in surprise. At the same time, a hint of gentleness could be seen in her eyes. It was apparent that she had a good relationship with Feng Qianwu. Moreover, she knew the condition that Feng Qianwu had to fulfill before she could leave the Drift Blaze sect. Ziyun nodded again. "With Little Feng's innate talent, now that she has broken through to the Saint stage, I'm afraid she'll surpass me in less than 10 years. Sect leader Ziyun, do you really want me to return the favor to you like this?" The Black Crow looked at Ziyun and asked, "This is a little disadvantageous for you. As long as Tianwu is safe, it's still a gain for me." Ziyun, on the other hand, did not feel disadvantageous at all. "I understand now." The Black Crow nodded. "She just left not long ago. She should be heading to the Situ clan in the capital first. You can hide by her side. If her life is not in danger, there's no need for you to make a move. Her departure this time can be considered as a form of training for her," Ziyun said to the Black Crow. Heyu responded and left. He left the place where he had stayed for 20 years. Naturally, Feng Qianwu did not notice the Black Crow tailing her since the gap in their strength was too wide. Even Feng Qianwu did not notice it, let alone Feng Wudao. After the father and daughter left the Drift Blaze sect, they made their way to the capital. When they arrived at the capital, they went straight to the Situ clan. When the people from the Situ clan learned that Lady Feng from the Drift Blaze sect had arrived, the clan leader, Situ Hao, personally came out to welcome her. It could be said that he had given the Drift Blaze sect enough face. Naturally, he did not only give face to the Drift Blaze sect, but he also gave face to Duan Lingtian, who in Windfall Nation did not know that Lady Feng from the Drift Blaze sect had a special relationship with their Situ clan's interim advisor, Master Duan. Bai Li Hong, Sima Changfeng, and the others were overjoyed when they learned that Feng Wudao had returned. "Miss Tianwu." Xiong Quan and Gold Thug were a little excited when they saw Feng Qianwu again. "It's been so many years since we last met. How are both of you?" Feng Qianwu greeted both of them with a smile. "Yes, yes." Xiong Quan and Gold Thug quickly nodded. The reason Feng Qianwu left the Drift Blaze sect this time was to look for Duan Lingtian. Although Duan Lingtian did not know where Duan Lingtian had gone, she could guess what Duan Lingtian's next step was based on her understanding of some things. Sister Kerr was taken away by the people from Zoroastrianism. The Zoroastrianism is a powerful force in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. It's not realistic for elder brother Duan to look for Sister Kerr. Then elder brother Duan must have gone to look for Sister Fei, or Sister Fei must be with Xuanai. There's a force behind Xuanai that's extraordinary in the Dao Martial Saint Land. Before elder brother Duan came to the Dao Martial Saint Land, he gave elder brother Duan a large number of 5th grade Saint Stones and a small number of 4th grade Saint Stones. Some of this information was already known to Feng Qianwu, while some she had just learned from Bai Lihong and the others. After a round of speculation, she confirmed it. In this case, the force behind Xuanai must be a 5th-rate force. A 5th-rate force Han Xuanai, with the surname Han. Although there are several dozens of 5th-rate forces in the Dao Martial Saint Land, there's only one with the surname Han. The Greenwave Han Mansion. In the end, Feng Qianwu confirmed it. Greenwave Han Mansion. As intelligent as Feng Qianwu was, she quickly locked onto her target. Naturally, she did not dare to confirm it. However, even if she did not dare to confirm it, she would not miss out on such an important clue. Her thoughts were similar to Duan Lingtian's. However, although she had guessed that Duan Lingtian might have gone to the Greenwave Han Mansion, she did not tell the others, including her father. She knew very well that if she told her father, Bai Lihong, and the others about this, it would only bring them trouble. It was not a good thing. If Duan Lingtian knew about Feng Qianwu's thoughts, he would definitely think that she was very considerate. Her thoughts were almost the same as his. After she had a target in mind, Feng Qianwu accompanied Feng Wu Dao for a few more days before she left the Situ clan and the capital of Windfall Nation. She headed in the northeast direction. Along the way, she had a strong feeling that she was heading in the right direction. Feng Qianwu did not notice that an old figure was tailing her from afar. Duan Lingtian? The Devil Seal Tablet? In the lair of the Mountain Shade Black Market's branch in Windfall Nation, Hong Zhen, the leader, narrowed his eyes when he learned about the news that had spread in Windfall Nation. As a devil cultivator, apart from those who were stronger than him, the thing he feared the most was the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, on the 10 Great Saint Weapons ranking. The Devil Seal Tablet could kill him even if it was used by a martial or Dao cultivator whose cultivation base was a stage lower than his. Due to this reason, when he learned that the Devil Seal Tablet that had not appeared in the Dao Martial Saint Land for a long time had reappeared, his first thought was not how to get his hands on the Devil Seal Tablet. Instead, he feared the Devil Seal Tablet. I wonder if this Duan Lingtian is the Duan Lingtian that the headquarters is looking for. If the headquarters knew about the Devil Seal Tablet's whereabouts beforehand, he should be the Duan Lingtian they're looking for. Hong Zhen thought to himself. Soon after, Jing Yuan, whom Hong Zhen had sent out, returned as well. Jing Yuan, have you verified it? When Hong Zhen saw Jing Yuan's return, he immediately asked, is the Duan Lingtian we're looking for the same person as the Duan Lingtian that everyone is talking about in Windfall Nation? I verified it. They're the same person. Jing Yuan nodded. However, we don't know where he is now, and all the powerhouses are looking for him. It won't be easy for us to find him. As expected, they're the same person. Hong Zhen's eyes flashed as he said in a deep voice, even if we can't find him, we still have to look for him. Moreover, we must pass this news to the higher-ups. Soon after, the news about Duan Lingtian began to spread to the higher-level branch of the Mountain Shade Black Market. In the end, it reached the Mountain Shade Black Market's headquarters. Duan Roofing's son has obtained the Devil Seal Tablet? At the Mountain Shade Black Market's headquarters, Leader Duga's eyes narrowed immediately when he heard the news. He was also a devil cultivator, and he feared the Devil Seal Tablet from the bottom of his heart. Chapter 1646. Naturally, Duan Lingtian did not know that the news of him possessing the Devil Seal Tablet had spread to his father's nemesis. Currently, he had already entered the Greenwave Han Mansion's district. Along the way, he relied on the flying sword transformed from his 10,000 swords territory to travel. His speed was so fast that it was almost on par with Saint Stage powerhouses. Under such circumstances, Duan Lingtian did not encounter any trouble along the way. Let's find someone to ask for directions first. Although he had arrived at the Greenwave Han Mansion's district, Duan Lingtian did not know where he was. He also did not know where the 5th-rate force, Greenwave Han Mansion, was located. After descending from the sky, Duan Lingtian found a small town and asked for directions. Only then did he find out that he was currently in a sixth-rate Saint Nation in the Greenwave Han Mansions district. This sixth-rate Saint Nation was similar to the Windfall Nation in the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion. However, Duan Lingtian was currently in one of the small towns and not the capital. For this reason, the people he encountered were at the Saint Rudiment stage at most. Just by asking for directions, Duan Lingtian discovered that he was being targeted. He was not surprised by this. This small town was located in a remote area. Usually no one would come here. However, a stranger like him had come today. It was normal for someone to have designs on him. After activating his divine eye and discovering that the people who were targeting him were only at the Saint Rudiment stage and the strongest was only at the Perfection Saint Rudiment stage, Duan Lingtian did not bother to pay attention to them. After leaving the town, he disappeared into thin air in front of those people. He disappeared? When the few Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivators who were targeting Duan Lingtian and wanted to kill him and rob him saw the purple-clad young man disappear before their eyes, they broke out in cold sweat. Such speed. He's at least at the paramount Saint Rudiment stage, right? A Mastery Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator muttered. He was a Mastery Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator. Only someone at the paramount Saint Rudiment stage could disappear before his eyes. No. He's most likely a Saint stage powerhouse. Among the few people, the strongest person narrowed his eyes and said in horror. There was a hint of fear between his brows. Boss, you don't tell me that even you couldn't capture his figure when he left? Immediately the other people's expressions changed. In my eyes he disappeared into thin air. Even an ordinary imminent Saint stage expert wouldn't have such speed. Therefore he's either a famous expert on the heaven ranking who excels in speed or a Saint stage expert. The Perfection Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator who was addressed as boss gasped. Such a powerhouse would have definitely noticed us tailing him. Fortunately he didn't make a fuss about it. Otherwise none of us would have survived. For a moment the others were speechless. If one looked closely, it was easy to see that their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. Actually, killing these people was as easy as flipping his hand for Duan Lingtian. However, since Duan Lingtian's attention was on Li Fei, he did not waste any time on these people. After asking about the location of the central area of the Greenwave Han Mansion district, he headed there. When he arrived at the central area of the Greenwave Han Mansion district, his next destination was naturally the Greenwave Han Mansion, a fifth-rated force that ruled the surrounding district. To be more precise, it was the Greenwave Han Mansion's base, a place where powerhouses gathered. As a fifth-rated force, the Greenwave Han Mansion's base was naturally not a place that just anyone could find and break in. Therefore, under such circumstances, Duan Lingtian arrived at Greenwave City first. Greenwave City was the most prosperous city in the Greenwave Han Mansion district. It was also the city closest to the Greenwave Han Mansion's base. It was completely under the control of the Greenwave Han Mansion. The Greenwave Han Mansion even had a submansion in this city. This submansion controlled Greenwave City. The city governor of Greenwave City was the person in charge of this submansion. He was also a direct descendant of the Greenwave Han Mansion. To a certain extent, the Greenwave Han Mansion could be considered as a fifth-rated clan. However, in this clan, there was a set of management methods similar to that of a sect. In the Greenwave Han Mansion, even if one's surname was not Han, as long as one's strength was strong, one would still be put in an important position. Even becoming the Greenwave Han Mansion's mansion master was not impossible. In the current Greenwave Han Mansion, among the disciples with a different surname, the most outstanding one was a beast tamer who was as close as a brother to the current mansion master. This beast tamer was also a well-known figure in the entire Greenwave Han Mansion district. All in all, as long as one had enough innate talent, one would not have to worry about being buried after entering the Greenwave Han Mansion. After arriving at Greenwave City, Duan Lingtian found an inn to stay in and stayed in the restaurant all day long. The restaurant he chose was also the most prosperous restaurant in the center of Greenwave City. Although this restaurant was very big, as long as it was mealtime, almost all the seats would be filled. It was as crowded as a marketplace. Duan Lingtian sat at a seat by the window, drinking wine and eating alone. The current Duan Lingtian might not be able to recognize him even if his acquaintances were to sit in front of him. This was because he had completely changed his face now. This was an extremely cold and stern face that invisibly exuded a cold aura that repelled people thousands of miles away. This was the face that Duan Lingtian had disguised. Of course, the disguise here was not done with any tools. It was purely a disguise that Duan Lingtian performed using a secret technique. The secret technique was something that he had asked to allow for. The principle of the secret technique was to activate the true chi to change the facial muscles to a certain extent, causing a drastic change in appearance. This kind of secret technique of disguise was more difficult to see through compared to ordinary disguises. Ordinary disguises would not be able to hide from the divine sense of a saint stage powerhouse. Even ordinary martial cultivators and Dao cultivators would not be able to hide from them. However, the secret technique of disguise that Duan Lingtian used could easily fool even saint stage powerhouses. Even if a saint stage powerhouse's divine sense was wrapped around his face, they would not be able to discover anything unusual about his face. Duan Lingtian sat by the window in the restaurant, listening to the various things that the guests from all over talked about. In the past few days he had not heard any useful news. At this time the waiter just happened to come over and serve the dishes. Duan Lingtian raised his eyebrows. With a raise of his hand, he took out a 5th-grade saint stone and placed it in front of the waiter. "Sir, what are you doing?" Seeing the 5th-grade saint stone, the waiter's eyes lit up. One had to know that a 5th-grade saint stone was equivalent to 3 months of his salary. "Waiter, I have something to ask you." Duan Lingtian transmitted his voice. "Please speak, sir." In the face of Duan Lingtian's question, the waiter nodded and replied through voice transmission immediately. However, his eyes did not leave the 5th-grade saint stone on the table. "Have you heard of Han Xuanai?" Duan Lingtian asked. "Miss Xuanai." When the waiter heard Duan Lingtian's question, he could not help but be stunned. "Sir, is this your first time in the Greenwave Han Mansion? How did you know?" At this moment, it was Duan Lingtian's turn to be surprised. "Dear guest, as long as you're a resident of Greenwave City or a frequent visitor to Greenwave City, there's almost no one who doesn't know Miss Xuanai. Miss Xuanai is the eldest young miss of our Greenwave Han Mansion. She's also the only daughter of the Greenwave Han Mansion master. She's famous in the entire Greenwave Han Mansion. Very few people in the Greenwave Han Mansion district don't know about her," the waiter said. Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian could not help but smile wryly. He suddenly felt that he had wasted a few days of his time. If he had asked someone earlier, he would have confirmed it long ago. He would not have been so anxious and unsure if Xuanai was from the Greenwave Han Mansion. "Looks like my guess is right. Xuanai is indeed from the Greenwave Han Mansion. However, I didn't expect her to be the only daughter of the Greenwave Han Mansion master, the eldest miss of the Greenwave Han Mansion." When he thought of the young lady, Duan Lingtian's gaze became gentle. "This saint stone is yours," Yi Futian said. After learning that Han Xuanai was really from the Greenwave Han Mansion, Duan Lingtian already knew what to do next. Since Xuanai's identity in the Greenwave Han Mansion was so special, he could totally visit her as a friend. "Wait a minute, I'll go to the Greenwave Han Mansion submansion in Greenwave City? It doesn't matter whether I go to the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate or not. As long as Xuanai knows that I'm in Greenwave City, it'll be fine." The moment he thought of this, Duan Lingtian sighed in relief. His nerves that had been on edge for a long time gradually relaxed at this moment. Initially, although he had guessed that Han Xuanai might be from the Greenwave Han Mansion, he had not confirmed it after all. For this reason he had also endured a certain amount of pressure along the way. After all, if he had guessed wrongly, then all his efforts would have been in vain. However, now that he heard the waiter's words, he knew that his guess was right. "Thank you, sir." The waiter thanked him as he put away the saint stone. After the waiter left, Duan Lingtian drank a few more mouthfuls of wine and ate a few more mouthfuls of food before he prepared to leave. At this moment, the voices of the 3 people at the table next to him reached his ears in a timely manner. This was because they mentioned Han Xuanai. If it was before he had spoken to the waiter, Duan Lingtian would not have cared if he had heard their words. This was because at that time he still did not know about Han Xuanai's identity in the Greenwave Han Mansion. "I heard that after some time, the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion will come to our Greenwave Han Mansion to marry the daughter of Lord Mansion Master. Looks like our Greenwave Han Mansion's eldest miss won't be able to inherit her father's position as Mansion Master," one of them said. "I heard that even if the eldest miss marries over, she'll only be a concubine," another person chimed in. I've long heard that the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion is a womanizer by nature. He already has a wife and 5 concubines at home. I can't believe that this is the first time he has set his sights on our Greenwave Han Mansion's eldest Mississippi," the last person said indignantly. "I heard that some time ago, for some reason, the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion suddenly came to the Greenwave Han Mansion as a guest. After that, he took a liking to the eldest miss at first glance. That eldest miss is really unlucky. Originally, she's considered a genius in the Greenwave Han Mansion, but in front of the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, she's nothing. She can only let him do whatever he wants. Chapter 1647. Although the Greenwave Han Mansion is a fifth-rate force, and it's famous in the Debussy subterranean, it's still far from being comparable to the Rising Sky Mansion. That's right. The Rising Sky Mansion is a fourth-rate force, and its strength far surpasses the Greenwave Han Mansion. Even our Greenwave Han Mansion's Lord Mansion Master doesn't dare to act recklessly in front of the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion. After all, the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion represents the entire Rising Sky Mansion. The Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion has 4 children, but he only has one son. It's only natural that he dotes on him a lot. It's said that there's nothing the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion can't do since he was young. What a different fate. The moment he was born, he was labeled as the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion. Look at us, we can only rely on ourselves to fight our way through. That's right. Comparisons are odious. The 3 of them sighed emotionally when they reached the end of their conversation. They were envious of the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion's background. Rising Sky Mansion? Fourth-rate force? Duan Ling Tian frowned. That Rising Sky Mansion's young Mansion Master has set his sights on the Greenwave Han Mansion's eldest miss. And according to what the attendant said earlier, Xuanai is the Greenwave Han Mansion's eldest Mississippi. In other words, he has his eyes on Xuanai? What a beast. He won't even let a young girl go. In Duan Lingtian's memory, Han Xuanai was still a young girl who would never grow up. She had always looked like a 15 or 16-year-old girl. He did not know that Han Xuanai had already broken the shackles of her cultivation method and had grown up. Fourth-rate force, Rising Sky Mansion. When Duan Lingtian left the restaurant, his heart felt heavy. A fifth-rate force was already a colossus to him, let alone a fourth-rate force. Currently, he was no longer the hothead who had just arrived at the Dao Martial Saint Land. He had a deep understanding of the Dao Martial Saint Land. This included the fact that the Dao Martial Saint Land was divided into the upper and lower province. He was currently in the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. In the Debussy subterranean, a fourth-rate force was already considered a top-notch first-rate force. There were many powerhouses there, and there were even powerhouses who had surpassed the Eminent Saint stage. The Eminent Saint stage was the stage above the Refined Saint stage. The most powerful person in an ordinary sixth-rate force was only at the Refined Saint stage. However, in the fifth-rate forces, there were great Sage Realm existences. There were even existences who had surpassed the Great Saint stage in the fourth-rate forces. I haven't even entered the Pristine Saint stage yet. Even if I use the Devil Seal tablet, I can only kill ordinary Pristine Saint stage Devil cultivators. A Refined Saint stage Devil cultivator is enough to crush me. It seems like the most important thing now is to raise my cultivation base. As long as I take another step forward, I'll be able to successfully break through to the Pristine Saint stage. On the way back to the inn, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Naturally, apart from the Devil Seal tablet, Duan Lingtian could still kill Pristine Saint stage Devil cultivators with the Jasper Celestial Sword. Previously, when he was still in the Moon Illumination sect, the first Saint stage powerhouse who died under his Jasper Celestial Sword was a Supreme Elder of the Moon Illumination sect who was at the early Pristine Saint stage. At that time, Duan Lingtian had just broken through to the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. He had exhausted almost 90% of his strength before he managed to kill him with the Jasper Celestial Sword. Previously, when he faced Lin Dong who had just broken through to the early Pristine Saint stage, although Duan Lingtian had also killed him with just one strike, he had only used half of his strength. In other words, the current Duan Lingtian could use the Jasper Celestial Sword twice in a row to kill 2 early Pristine Saint stage powerhouses. Naturally, it was only limited to 2. After killing 2 early Pristine Saint stage powerhouses, all of his strength would be exhausted and he would enter a weakened state. At that time, anyone would be able to kill him. If I use more than 90% of my strength and use the Jasper Celestial Sword, it shouldn't be a problem for me to kill an ordinary intermediate Pristine Saint stage powerhouse. However, it's almost impossible for me to kill a Mastery Pristine Saint stage powerhouse. Duan Lingtian knew his own strength very well. Although the Jasper Celestial Sword was heaven-defying, it still needed to be supported by energy. The more energy he channeled into the Jasper Celestial Sword, the more powerful the Jasper Celestial Sword would be. Currently, if he used the Jasper Celestial Sword with all his strength and spared no expense, he would only be able to kill an intermediate pristine saint stage powerhouse at most. However, it'll be different if I break through to the saint stage. At that time, it won't be difficult for me to kill a mastery pristine saint stage powerhouse with the Jasper Celestial Sword. I might even be able to kill a powerhouse at the peak of the pristine saint stage. Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence in this matter. Once he broke through to the saint stage, not only would all of his abilities improve, but his true energy would transform into the true origin and become the Sun true origin as well. At that time, the benefits of the enlightenment that Hua Lao gave him back then would gradually show itself. Due to this reason, Duan Lingtian was filled with anticipation toward the saint stage. However, despite his anticipation, he was currently stuck at the last step of the imminent saint stage. He was only one step away from crossing the threshold and entering the saint stage. It was this last step that Duan Lingtian still had no clue about. Just like the second stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, Duan Lingtian still had not found the opportunity to break through. However, Duan Lingtian still felt that his cultivation base would break through before the Sovereign Heart Sword because the Sovereign Heart Sword was just too mysterious. Until now, he still had not found the entry point for the second stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword. Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian had returned to the inn. After returning to the inn, Duan Lingtian rested for a day before he made up his mind. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to the Greenwave Han Mansion's submansion in Greenwave City. At that time, I'll ask them to inform Xuanai as Xuanai's friend. If Xuanai knows that I've come to Greenwave City, she'll definitely come to see me. Now that he had made up his mind, Duan Lingtian made up his mind. Naturally, it was impossible for him to be completely calm because he knew the situation that Xuanai was facing was not good as well. Based on Xuanai's personality, it's impossible for her to fall for the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. She'll definitely reject this marriage. I wonder if she's already grounded in the Greenwave Han Mansion. If she's grounded, I'll have to go to the Greenwave Han Mansion personally. The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, he frowned. He had known Xuanai for a long time, so he knew her character very well. Xuanai had once told him that her future man would not only be strong, but he would also only have her as his woman. This was her bottom line. What Xuanai respected was the principle of monogamy. In Duan Lingtian's past life, this was not unusual. Due to this reason, Duan Lingtian did not think that there was anything wrong with Xuanai's idea. However, in this life, Han Xuanai's idea was a little whimsical. That was because in this world, the strong were respected. It was normal for an expert to have several women at the same time, or even a dozen as long as he could control them. Naturally, it was also because of this that Duan Lingtian felt that it was impossible for Han Xuanai to agree to the marriage with the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. I hope little Fei is really in the Greenwave Han Mansion. If little Fei is in the Greenwave Han Mansion, my child should have already been born. As Duan Lingtian thought about this, a warm smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The next morning, after Duan Lingtian asked for directions, he went to the Greenwave Han Mansion's submansion. He heard that he was Han Xuanai's friend, the person in charge of the Greenwave Han Mansion's submansion, who was also the city governor of Greenwave City, personally summoned him. The Greenwave Han Mansion's submansion was also the city governor's estate of Greenwave City. It was located in the east of Greenwave City and occupied a vast area. It was not smaller than the Situ clan's estate in the capital of Windfall Nation at all. Under the lead of the city governor's estate guard, Duan Lingtian walked into the main hall of the city governor's estate and saw the city governor of Greenwave City, who was also the person in charge of the Greenwave Han Mansion submansion. A middle-aged man with a jade-like face who wore a long silver robe stood there. When he looked at Duan Lingtian, he gave Duan Lingtian a sense of pressure. "You said you're the eldest Miss Friend?" When the middle-aged man saw that Duan Lingtian's expression did not change at all even after being locked onto by his aura, a hint of surprise flashed through the depth of his eyes. When this person walked into the main hall, he already knew that this was a young man whose cultivation base had yet to enter the saint stage. Judging by the life aura on his body, he did not seem to be more than 40 years old. He was not more than 40 years old, but his expression did not change at all even after being locked onto by his aura. Even among the younger generation in their Greenwave Han Mansion, not many people could do this. "Yes." Duan Lingtian nodded. "What's your name?" the middle-aged man asked again. "Lingtian." Duan Lingtian replied. He did not reveal his surname because he currently had another face, and he needed another name to complement it. However, he knew that as soon as this name reached Xuanai's ears, she would be able to guess it was him immediately. Naturally, there was a reason why he had disguised himself and concealed his identity. After leaving Windfall Nation, Duan Lingtian knew the truth that the Devil Seal tablet was not in King Qian's hands would be exposed. At that time he would become the target of public criticism. At that time, everyone would think that the Devil Seal tablet was in the hands of a person called Duan Lingtian. Not only that, but those who had seen him before could also draw a portrait of him and search for him everywhere. Although the news about the Devil Seal tablet had not spread to the Greenwave Han Mansion yet. However, Duan Lingtian could foresee that it would not take long before the news about the Devil Seal tablet in his hands swept through the entire Greenwave Han Mansion's district like a hurricane. At that time, everyone in the Greenwave Han Mansion would know about Duan Lingtian and that Duan Lingtian possessed the Devil Seal tablet. It was precisely because of this that Duan Lingtian decided to disguise himself in order to avoid unnecessary trouble. Once the news about the Devil Seal tablet spread out, the powerhouses that would be attracted might even be eminent Saint Stage powerhouses. Before he had enough strength to protect the Devil Seal tablet, Duan Lingtian did not dare to reveal his identity easily. This was also the reason why he disguised himself and did not reveal his real name. Lingtian? What a good name. Chapter 1648. Bring me to see Xuanai? Upon hearing the Greenwave City Governor's words, Duan Lingtian was stunned. However, when he thought of Han Xuanai's current situation, he felt relieved again. It seemed like things might be as he had guessed. Han Xuanai was most likely grounded. Thank you, City Governor. Duan Lingtian nodded and thanked the Greenwave City Governor. If you're really a friend of the eldest miss, then you're a guest of our Greenwave Han Mansion. Naturally, I won't treat you badly, the Greenwave City Governor said. The meaning of his words was obvious. Everything was for the sake of Han Xuanai. If Duan Lingtian was not Han Xuanai's friend, he would not have bothered at all. In fact, this was understandable. As the Greenwave City Governor, the person in charge of the Greenwave Han Mansion's branch in Greenwave City, he was also an elder with a high position in the Greenwave Han Mansion. With the Greenwave Han Mansion as his backing, in addition to his own strength, it was only natural that he would have high standards but low abilities. He would not take ordinary people seriously. The reason why he treated Duan Lingtian so politely was mostly for the sake of his eldest miss, Han Xuanai. If he confirmed that Han Xuanai did not have such a friend, then he would not be so polite anymore. Not only would he not be polite, but he would also punish Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian could somewhat guess the Greenwave City Governor's thoughts, but he was not worried at all. This was because he did know the eldest miss of the Greenwave Han Mansion. She was Han Xuanai, the Han Xuanai who was always by his side, calling him Brother Lingtian and Brother Lingtian. City Governor, can you ask your man to pass a message to Xuanai on my behalf? Duan Lingtian believed that Han Xuanai would immediately think of him when she heard the name Lingtian. However, just in case, he decided to be fully prepared. Of course. Blue Wave City Lord nodded in agreement. In his opinion, this was just a small matter. Tell your men to tell Xuanai that Brother Lingtian is here. Duan Lingtian said. Brother Lingtian? Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the Blue Wave City Lord's pupils shrank slightly. To a certain extent, this kind of address also frightened him. After all, if they weren't close to each other, they wouldn't call each other that. Based on what this young man named Lingtian said, the eldest miss of their Greenwave Han Mansion actually called him Big Brother Lingtian? In that instant, his attitude underwent a complete change. Brother Lingtian, let me take you to rest first. At this time, when he greeted Duan Lingtian again, the Blue Wave City Lord's tone was much warmer. It was as though the person standing in front of him was not someone he met for the first time but an old friend he had known for many years. The change in the Blue Wave City Lord's attitude was within Duan Lingtian's expectations, so he was not surprised at all. After leaving the main hall, the Blue Wave City Lord took the initiative to introduce himself. My name is Han Qin and I'm the External Affairs Elder of the Greenwave Han Mansion. I'm usually in charge of all the affairs in Blue Wave City. If Brother Lingtian doesn't mind, you can just call me Big Brother. Calling me City Lord seems a little distant. If it was an ordinary martial cultivator who had not broken through to the Saint Stage, Han Qing would not call him brother at all. Even if his innate talent was very high and was not inferior to Duan Lingtian. The reason Han Qing humbled himself and called Duan Lingtian brother was mostly because of the eldest miss of their Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Xuanai. In the Greenwave Han Mansion, although he was an elder and his position was not low, compared to Han Xuanai, he was still far behind. Most importantly, he respected the mansion master of their Greenwave Han Mansion, who was also Han Xuanai's father. This was because the mansion master had once saved his life when he was young. Otherwise he would have died a long time ago. Due to this reason he also respected Han Xuanai, the daughter of the mansion master, very much. Big brother Han Qing. Duan Lingtian had always been the kind of person who would return the favor when others were polite to him. Moreover, until now Han Qing had always left a good impression on him. When Han Qing heard how Duan Lingtian addressed him, a smile immediately appeared on his face. In fact, after Duan Lingtian asked his man to pass on the message to Han Xuanai, he was almost 100% certain that Duan Lingtian was Han Xuanai's friend. Otherwise, he would not have dared to act so presumptuously in the Greenwave City governor's estate unless he had a death wish. However, the cold-looking purple-clad young man in front of him did not look like someone who had a death wish no matter what. Most importantly, the eldest miss of their Greenwave Han mansion seemed to have a good relationship with this person. Due to this reason, there was a drastic change in his attitude at that moment as well. Big brother Han Qing, although I've just arrived in Greenwave City, I've also heard that the young mansion master of Flushing Void Mansion is going to marry Xuanai. This matter. Duan Lingtian looked at Han Qing. Before he could finish his sentence, he noticed that Han Qing's face had turned grave. That young mansion master of Flushing Void Mansion is purely a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. He's just a playboy rich kid who's dissolute by nature. He's not worthy of the eldest miss at all. Han Qing said in a deep voice. It was obvious that he was very dissatisfied with this marriage. His life was saved by the mansion master of Greenwave Han Mansion. Naturally, he would stand on Han Xuanai's side in this matter. However, I heard that the Flushing Void Mansion is a fourth-rate force. I'm afraid it's not easy for the Greenwave Han Mansion to shirk away from this matter, right? Duan Lingtian asked. It's indeed very difficult to shirk away from this matter. Han Qing nodded. After taking a deep breath, he continued to say, right now, our Greenwave Han Mansion is divided into two camps regarding this matter. One of the camps, led by Lord Mansion Master, is unwilling to agree to this marriage. The other camp, led by the Supreme Elder, wants the eldest miss to agree to this marriage so as to avoid offending the Flushing Void Mansion. Which side has the upper hand now? Duan Lingtian asked with a frown. The Supreme Elder's side. A hint of anger flashed in Han Qing's eyes as he said in a deep voice, to be honest, I didn't realize there were so many cowards in our Greenwave Han Mansion in the past. Faced with the Flushing Void Mansion, each and every one of them is terrified. They're deeply afraid that the people from the Flushing Void Mansion will kill them. Aren't they ashamed of using a little girl's lifetime happiness in exchange for their own safety? Upon hearing Han Qing's words, Duan Lingtian also realized that the situation was not looking good. Big brother Han Qing, can you tell me about the situation in the Greenwave Han Mansion? Duan Lingtian asked. Brother Lingtian, it's not that I don't trust you. It's just that this matter concerns some of our Greenwave Han Mansion's secrets. Before the eldest miss confirms your identity, it's not appropriate for me to tell you too much. Han Qing said to Duan Lingtian apologetically, how about this? As long as the eldest miss confirms your identity, I'll tell you everything about the situation in our Greenwave Han Mansion. What do you think? Big brother Han Qing, you don't have to feel apologetic. This is human nature and I can understand. Duan Lingtian could understand Han Qing's concerns, so he did not continue to ask. Under Han Qing's arrangement, Duan Lingtian stayed in the city governor's estate in Greenwave City. Han Qing had arranged a spacious courtyard for him. There was a spacious field in the courtyard where he could practice his martial techniques. Apart from that, there were also a few empty rooms. The room was spotless. It was obvious that someone had cleaned it regularly. After bidding farewell to Duan Lingtian, Han Qing left. He still had something to do. Although he did not find Duan Lingtian's identity suspicious, he still had to send someone to the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate to look for the eldest miss, Han Xuanai, to confirm it just in case. After Han Qing left, Duan Lingtian returned to his room. After closing the door, he entered the third level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda and continued to cultivate. It'll be great if I can make a breakthrough to the Saint stage. Who knows, I might be able to help Xuanai. When Duan Lingtian thought of Han Xuanai's current situation, his heart felt a little heavy. In his eyes, Xuanai was his sister. A sister that he needed to protect and care for. She was not much different from his biological sister. This matter concerned Xuanai's happiness. Even he was anxious. Although Xuanai's father is the Greenwave Han Mansion's mansion master, as a fifth-rated force, it's naturally impossible for the mansion master to have the final say. Unless Xuanai's father's strength is strong enough to overpower everything and everyone in the Greenwave Han mansion. However, based on the current situation, it's obvious that Xuanai's father's strength has not reached that stage yet. When Duan Lingtian thought of Han Qing's words earlier, his heart felt even heavier as though there was a huge rock pressing on it. Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian tried to calm himself down and immerse himself in his cultivation. While Duan Lingtian was cultivating, a person also walked out of the Greenwave city governor's estate. After this person left the city governor's estate, he left Greenwave city and headed north. After spending a day and a night, he finally entered a deep mountain that was surrounded by clouds and mist. Behind the deep mountain was the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate. He was from the Greenwave city governor's estate as well as the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate. Due to this reason, he did not encounter any obstacles along the way and easily arrived at the central area of the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate. I'm the deputy commander of the Greenwave City Governor's Estate Guards. I have something to ask of the young miss of the Greenwave Han Mansion, a curly-bearded man dressed in armor who was standing outside the mansion where Han Xuanai, the Greenwave Han Mansion's young miss, lived. At once, a maid went in to report. The young miss has asked you to go in. Soon after, the maid came out again and brought the curly-bearded man in. There was a vast lake in the backyard of the mansion. There was a pavilion on one side of the lake. There was a person sitting on one side of the pavilion. It was a woman with a peerless appearance. She leaned there quietly as though everything around her paled in comparison to her beauty. However, there was a hint of worry between the woman's brows as she stared at the lake in front of her. No one knew what she was thinking about. Young Mississippi, the woman only snapped back to her senses when the maid spoke. At the same time, she looked at the curly-bearded man beside the maid and forced a smile as she asked, "Is Uncle Qing looking for me?" The other party was from the Greenwave City Governor's estate. The only person she was familiar with in the Greenwave City Governor's estate was Han Qing, who was also the city governor of Greenwave City. Yes, eldest young Mississippi. Chapter 1649. The lady leaning on the side of the pavilion was none other than the eldest miss of the Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Xuanai. Unlike the Han Xuanai who always looked like a 15 or 16-year-old girl in Duan Lingtian's memory, the current Han Xuanai had lost most of her childishness. It was as though she had grown up overnight and had become a great beauty. At the very least in terms of beauty, Han Xuanai was not inferior to Ke, Li Fei and Feng Tianwu. "Uncle Qing, is there anything you need from me?" Han Xuanai asked. The curly-bearded man did not speak immediately. Instead, he glanced at the servant girl next to him. His action also expressed that it was inconvenient for him to speak in the presence of the servant girl. Of course he could use voice transmission. However, due to the great disparity in status between him and the lady in front of him, he did not dare to communicate with her through voice transmission unless it was necessary. "You may leave." As soon as Han Xuanai spoke, the maidservant responded and retreated. At once, only Han Xuanai and the curly-bearded man were left in the backyard. "Is it very important?" Judging from the curly-bearded man's attitude earlier, Han Xuanai also knew that the matter was not simple. Before the other party could speak, she asked first. "Yes." The curly-bearded man nodded. "Since it's important, you don't have to worry. Just tell me directly through voice transmission." Although she did not know why Uncle Qing was looking for her, Han Xuanai still treated it very seriously. This was because she knew that Uncle Qing would not look for her if there was nothing important. The curly-bearded man responded again and said through voice transmission, "Eldest Miss, Lord City Governor asked me to look for you because he wants me to ask you something." "Ask me something? What is it?" Han Xuanai asked curiously. "Lord City Governor asked me to ask Eldest Miss if you know a young man named Ling Tian? That young man is not more than 40 years old." The curly-bearded man continued to speak through voice transmission. "Ling Tian." Han Xuanai's eyes had already lit up when the curly-bearded man was halfway through his sentence, and a hint of excitement appeared on her beautiful face. Ling Tian. She was no stranger to this name. It was just her brother Ling Tian's name. When she heard these two words, she immediately thought of her brother, Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian. "His name is Ling Tian? Did he mention his surname?" Han Xuanai asked. "Isn't Ling his surname?" The bearded man was stunned. "He didn't say his surname was Duan?" Han Xuanai frowned when she heard the curly-bearded man's words, but her brows quickly relaxed. Even if he did not say that his surname was Duan, she felt that he should be her brother Ling Tian. "Where is he now?" "It's in the Greenwave City Lord's mansion." the curly-bearded man said truthfully. In the city lord's mansion? When Han Xuanai heard this, she immediately wanted to go to the Greenwave City Lord's mansion to meet the young man called Ling Tian to see if he was her brother Ling Tian. Although she had a strong intuition that this was her big brother Ling Tian, she still didn't dare to be 100% sure in her heart. Naturally, although Han Xuanai wanted to go to the Greenwave City Lord's mansion, she knew she could not go. Currently, although she seemed to be free, there were many powerhouses from the Greenwave Han mansion hidden around her mansion. These powerhouses were all on the side of the Supreme Elder Han Xin, and advocated for her to be married to the young mansion master of Chongsu Mansion. There was only one purpose for them to lurk around, and that was to keep an eye on her and not let her leave. Due to this reason she would be stopped even if she wanted to leave. Did he say anything? Han Xuanai looked at the curly-bearded man and asked excitedly. Lord City Lord said that he has a message for you, eldest Mississippi. The curly-bearded man said again. What message? Han Xuanai's breathing became a little hurried. Brother Ling Tian is here. The curly-bearded man said, these are his exact words. Soon after, he noticed that as soon as his words left his mouth, the eldest miss in front of him froze on the spot as though someone had pressed her acupuncture point. The expression on her face froze and did not change for a long time. However, after a while, he saw the excitement in Han Xuanai's eyes and face. Looks like that person is really eldest Miss Friend. Before Han Xuanai could speak, the curly-bearded man had already thought to himself. That person claimed to be your friend, eldest Mississippi. However, the curly-bearded man still added honestly. Brother Ling Tian. When Han Xuanai heard these 4 words, she was 100% certain that the young man named Ling Tian who was currently in the city lord's estate was her brother Ling Tian. However, it did not cross her mind that her brother Ling Tian would be able to find this place. In fact, she was worried that her brother Ling Tian would feel pressured, so she had never told her brother Ling Tian that she was the eldest miss of the Greenwave Han Mansion, let alone tell him what kind of force the Greenwave Han Mansion was in the Dao Martial Saint Land. When Han Xuanai found out that Duan Ling Tian was in the Greenwave City Governor's estate, she wanted to see him immediately. However, when she thought about her current situation, she could not help but sigh in her heart. She could not get out. However, even if she could not get out, it did not mean that Duan Ling Tian could not come in. For this reason, Han Xuanai quickly went to look for Qing Nu and asked her to bring Duan Ling Tian to the Greenwave Han Mansion to reunite with her. Up until today she had a lot of things to tell her brother Ling Tian. She also wanted to see her brother Ling Tian whom she had not seen for many years. Duan Ling Tian is here? When Qing Nu found out that Duan Ling Tian had come to Greenwave City and was in the city governor's estate, she was quite surprised as well. Soon after, Qing Nu followed the curly-bearded man back to the Greenwave City Governor's estate. Naturally, when they arrived at the city governor's estate, the first person Qing Nu went to see was the city governor of Greenwave City. Elder Han Qing. Qing Nu, you actually came personally? Looks like that brother Ling Tian of mine is indeed a friend of the eldest Mississippi. When he saw Qing Nu before his subordinate could speak, Han Qing had already confirmed it. Where is he now? Qing Nu asked. 2 days ago when he just arrived, I've already arranged for him to rest. Let's go. Let's go look for him together. Han Qing called out to Qing Nu and the two of them made their way to the courtyard where Duan Ling Tian was staying. As soon as the two of them entered the courtyard, Duan Ling Tian, who was on the 3rd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, opened his eyes. Naturally, this was not a coincidence. It was because Hua Lao had informed him in time. Ever since Hua Lao's strength had recovered, he could often keep an eye on the outside of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Usually, when Duan Ling Tian was cultivating, Hua Lao would keep an eye on the situation outside. As soon as there was a situation outside, he would immediately inform Duan Ling Tian. For this reason, when Han Qing and Qing Nu arrived, Duan Ling Tian immediately woke up from his cultivation. Although I've captured some of the profundity of the saint stage, it's still lacking a little. After waking up from his cultivation, Duan Ling Tian sighed. Although he was lacking a little, it was this little bit that had become the shackle for him to break through to the saint stage. With just a thought, Duan Ling Tian left the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda and returned to his room. Knock, knock. At this moment, the sound of knocking on the door resonated. When Duan Ling Tian opened the door, he saw a familiar face with just a glance. It was also a face that seemed to be familiar to him. In next to no time he reacted to the familiar face behind him. It was precisely Qing Nu who followed by Han Xuanai's side all those years ago. It was precisely Jianghu who took little black, little white and little gold away. Moreover, since the three little fellows left that time, they revealed a strength that shocked him when they returned once more. All in all, he was very grateful to Jianghu since she had helped the three little fellows before. Big brother Han Qing, senior Jianghu, Duan Lingtian greeted the two of them. He was slightly excited in his heart. Seeing Jianghu would naturally mean that he would be able to see Han Xuan'ai soon. The first time he came to the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate was an eye-opener for Duan Lingtian. This is the Greenwave Han Mansion, a fifth-rate force in the Dao Martial Saint Land? Looking at the estate that looked like a small country before his eyes, Duan Lingtian felt a little dazzled. His heart was filled with astonishment. A fifth-rate force was already so impressive. Then what about a fourth-rate force or even a third-rate force, a second-rate force and a first-rate force? Naturally, Duan Lingtian also knew that third-rate forces and above only existed in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. In the lower province, the fourth-rate forces reigned supreme. Naturally, the fourth-rate forces in the Wuxia subterranean were also divided into various grades and grades. The strongest fourth-rate forces were also called quasi-third-rate forces. In the entire Wuxia subterranean, quasi-third-rate forces could be counted with one's fingers. When Duan Lingtian saw Han Xuan'ai again, he could not help but be stunned. This was because Han Xuan'ai seemed to have changed into another person. Naturally, other than the fact that the childishness in her face had faded a lot, he could still recognize her. In his eyes, it was as though Xuan'ai had grown into an adult overnight. It was as though a budding flower bud had bloomed into a beautiful fiery red rose. The current Han Xuan'ai was no longer the young girl from back then. She had grown up and was a great beauty. No wonder the young mansion master of Cleansing Void Mansion would take a fancy to Xuan'ai. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. When Duan Lingtian saw Han Xuan'ai, he was stunned. However, Han Xuan'ai was not stunned. At that instant when she saw Duan Lingtian, her heart jolted. Subsequently, as though she had found a way to vent, she flew into Duan Lingtian's arms as tears streamed down her face. Her tears were tears of grievance. During this period of time, although she had been under a lot of pressure, she did not even show it to her closest friend, Mu Shui, let alone other people. She did show it in front of her father, but she still held it, and since she knew the pressure her father was under was not any less than hers. She was unwilling to get married, but how could her father be willing as well? However, at that instant when she saw Duan Lingtian, she seemed to have completely let go of her shackles. She threw herself into Duan Lingtian's arms and let her tears flow freely. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's arms seemed to have become her harbor where she could vent her grievances. Xuan'ai. Chapter 1650. Ever since he had known Han Xuan'ai, this was the first time Duan Lingtian had seen Han Xuan'ai in such a state. Author's note: in his eyes, Han Xuan'ai had always been an optimistic, cheerful and lively girl. However, when he saw Han Xuan'ai again, she gave him a strange feeling. It was obvious all of this had something to do with the marriage proposal from the young mansion master of Flushing Void Mansion. Flushing Void Mansion. When Duan Lingtian saw the girl whom he regarded as his biological sister so sad, he could not help but be enraged. If it was possible, he wished he could annihilate the Flushing Void Mansion so that Xuan'ai could return to being a carefree girl again. However, he also knew that with his current strength, let alone annihilating the Flushing Void Mansion, even a random powerhouse from the Flushing Void Mansion would be able to kill him with a flip of his hand. Even if he had the Jasper Celestial Sword in his hand, he still had the Devil Seal Tablet. The Devil Seal Tablet was only useful against devil cultivators. With his current strength, even if he fully activated the Jasper Celestial Sword, he could only kill an intermediate pristine Saint Stage Martial or Dao cultivator at most. This little bit of strength was nothing in the Greenwave Han Mansion, let alone the Flushing Void Mansion that was much more powerful than the Greenwave Han Mansion. When Duan Lingtian came to the Greenwave Han Mansion, he wanted to know if his fiancée, Li Fei, was in the Greenwave Han Mansion. He had also planned to ask Xuan'ai about this as soon as he saw her. However, Xuan'ai's loss of composure and Xuan'ai's sadness made him unable to ask. He could only comfort Xuan'ai softly. The current Duan Lingtian was no longer as cold as before. When he entered the mansion where Han Xuan'ai was staying, he had already cast the disguising secret tactic to restore his appearance. When Jianghu first saw him yesterday, she did not recognize him as well. However, after he reminded her through voice transmission and explained what happened when he first met her, she did not suspect his identity at all. Sigh. Jianghu couldn't help but sigh as she watched the scene from afar. She had watched Han Xuan'ai grow up. In her eyes, this young miss had always been carefree until the young mansion master of Chongsu Mansion came to propose marriage. Since then this young miss had changed. She had become taciturn and she did not even speak much to her. Many times she even thought of killing the young mansion master of the Chongshu Mansion. As long as the young mansion master of the Chongshu Mansion died, this marriage would naturally cease to exist. However, putting aside the fact that the vice mansion master of Chongshu Mansion was accompanied by a powerhouse whose strength far surpassed his own, it would be very difficult for her to succeed. Even if she really killed the young mansion master of Chongshu Mansion, the Greenwave Han Mansion would definitely be implicated as well. After all, she was a member of the Greenwave Han Mansion. Not only would she have to bear the responsibility for what she did, but the Greenwave Han Mansion would also have to bear the responsibility as well. In the area surrounding the Greenwave Han Mansion, who did not know that she, Jianghu, was from the Greenwave Han Mansion? At that time, even if she announced that she was leaving the Greenwave Han Mansion, the Chongsu Mansion would definitely vent their anger on the Greenwave Han Mansion. For this reason, although Jianghu's heart ached for Han Xuan'ai, there was nothing she could do about it. However, even though Jianghu could not help Han Xuan'ai escape from the evil clutches of the young mansion master of Chongshu Mansion, she was still able to block the divine consciousness that was approaching them from all directions. Although she did not know why Duan Lingtian had disguised himself when he was outside, she knew Duan Lingtian would not do that for no reason. For this reason, she extended her divine consciousness out to prevent the divine consciousness of those saint stage powerhouses who were hiding in the surroundings of the mansion from getting close to them. In this way, those people who were hiding in the dark would not be able to discover Duan Lingtian's true appearance. After a long while, Han Xuan'ai finally left Duan Lingtian's embrace. She wiped her tears and forced a smile on her face with great difficulty. "Brother Lingtian, how did you find your way here? I wasn't sure if you were from the Greenwave Han Mansion or not. I just wanted to try my luck. As it turns out, my luck is pretty good." Duan Lingtian smiled. However, the worry in the depths of his eyes could not be concealed. "Brother Lingtian, let's go in and talk." After glancing at the surroundings of the mansion, Han Xuan'ai called out to Duan Lingtian before leaving the courtyard and entering the house. After entering the house, Han Xuan'ai closed the door behind her while Jianghu stood guard outside like a door god, providing an absolutely safe environment for Han Xuan'ai and Duan Lingtian. "Xuan'ai, did your sister Fei and the three little fellows come to the Greenwave Han Mansion?" Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and looked at Han Xuan'ai as he asked in a slightly impatient manner. "Yes." Han Xuan'ai nodded. "Then where's your sister Fei now? Is she in your mansion?" Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up immediately. His face was filled with eagerness as though he wished he could grow a pair of wings and fly to Li Fei's side immediately. "She was here before, but now." Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Han Xuan'ai smiled wryly. Before she could finish her sentence, Duan Lingtian interrupted her. "What happened now?" At that moment, Duan Lingtian frowned. "Brother Lingtian, sister Fei was taken away by your father's men not long after she gave birth to the child." When Han Xuan'ai said this, a hint of doubt appeared on her face. "Brother Lingtian, who exactly is your father?" "My father's men?" Duan Lingtian's frown deepened. "Xuan'ai, what exactly happened? Tell me clearly." Following that, under Han Xuan'ai's narration, Duan Lingtian also understood the ins and outs of the matter to a certain extent. "Tell Miss Xuan'ai that my young madam and her son have followed me home." These were the exact words of the powerhouse who took Li Fei and her son away. If he addressed Li Fei as young madam, then Duan Lingtian would be the powerhouse's young master. At that moment, Duan Lingtian's joy from knowing that he had a son was completely overshadowed by the shock brought by the mysterious powerhouse. That mysterious powerhouse could enter and leave the Greenwave Han Mansion as though he was entering a place where no one could stop him. One could just imagine how powerful his strength was. Such a powerhouse his father's man? Duan Lingtian was a little dumbfounded. He felt that this was a little too ridiculous. Although he knew that his cheapskate father had also had a fortuitous encounter back then and possessed a shocking cultivation base, he even managed to gain a foothold in the Dao Martial Saint land. However, he only thought that his cheapskate father was an ordinary martial cultivator in the Dao Martial Saint land. It did not cross his mind that his cheapskate father actually had such a powerhouse under his command. "Father, how many things are you hiding from me?" The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, he could not help but smile wryly. After learning that Li Fei and her son were taken away by his cheapskate father's man, Duan Lingtian felt relieved. At the same time he asked Han Xuan'ai, "Xuan'ai, Other than calling your sister Fei, or young madam, did that person say who he is? Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with anticipation. This was because as long as he knew who the mysterious powerhouse was, perhaps he would be able to find his cheapskate father and mother and reunite with his family. No. Han Xuanai smiled wryly. He only said that he's from your family and did not reveal his identity. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian was a little disappointed. Brother Lingtian? Suddenly Han Xuanai seemed to have recalled something. She wanted to say something but hesitated. Xuanai, is there anything you want to tell me? Duan Lingtian could see that something was amiss. Brother Lingtian, there's something that I can't hide from you. Han Xuanai gritted her teeth and told him about how Han Jinyan, the grandson of the Greenwave Han Mansion's supreme elder, wanted to scheme against Li Fei but was killed by the mysterious powerhouse at the critical moment. Perhaps that powerhouse has been hiding by Sister Fei's side to protect her since a long time ago. That's why he made his move when Han Jinyan was plotting against Sister Fei. After he was exposed, he brought Sister Fei away. This was Han Xuanai's guess. Han Jinyan. Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with killing intent at this moment. His entire body emitted waves of cold aura that made people feel as though they had fallen into an ice cave. Even Han Xuanai could not withstand the aura on Duan Lingtian's body. Brother Lingtian's current strength is actually stronger than mine? Han Xuanai's heart skipped a beat as a look of disbelief appeared in her eyes. In fact, she was currently a Perfection Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator. However, she still felt pressured by the cold aura on her brother Lingtian's body. Although it was not as strong as a Saint stage powerhouse, it was not far off. Due to this reason, she could vaguely deduce Duan Lingtian's cultivation base. Imminent Saint stage. Brother Lingtian, Han Jinyan is already dead. Han Xuanai said softly, trying to wake Duan Lingtian up. Only then did Duan Lingtian return to his senses, and after taking a deep breath, he calmed his restless feelings. To him, Li Fei was his reverse scale. Anyone who dared to scheme against Li Fei would have touched his reverse scale. Every dragon had a reverse scale. Those who touched it would die. It was the same for him as well. Xuanai, when I was in Greenwave City, I heard that the Supreme Elder of Greenwave Han Mansion led a group of people to support your marriage to the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion. How many Supreme Elders are there in your Greenwave Han Mansion? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at Han Xuanai. Only one. Han Xuanai's eyes gleamed sharply as she said with a grave expression. I suspect the reason the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion suddenly came to our Greenwave Han Mansion is because of Han Xin. Han Xin? Duan Lingtian was stunned. He did not know how to react for a moment. Han Xin is the only Supreme Elder in our Greenwave Han Mansion. He's also Han Jinyan's biological grandfather. Han Xuanai said. Why do you say that? Upon hearing that the other party was Han Jinyan's grandfather, naturally, Duan Lingtian did not have a good impression of him. However, he was curious about Han Xuanai's words. According to Han Xuanai, the reason the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion came to the Greenwave Han Mansion must have something to do with Han Xin. Our Greenwave Han Mansion has no connection with Jianghu Mansion, and the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion has never come to our place before. However, not long after Han Jinyan died, the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion came. It's fine if he came, but when he was a guest in our Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Xin pretended that he had something to tell me and called me over. When Han Xuanai reached this part of the sentence, killing intent that was directed at Han Xin began to emanate from her body. It did not cross my mind that the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion would also be here. Now that I think about it, all of this is just a trap set up by Han Xin to target me. Chapter 1651. Upon hearing Han Xuanai's words, Duan Lingtian could not help but frown. Is it intentional revenge? The reason Duan Lingtian said this was, naturally, because of Han Xion's identity. Everyone please search for the complete answer. Yes. Not only was Han Xin the Supreme Elder of Greenwave Han Mansion, but he was also Han Jinyan's grandfather. Han Jinyan had died in the hands of the mysterious powerhouse behind Han Xuanai's friend. Yes. Han Xuanai nodded before she said with a grave expression, when Han Xion's grandson Han Jinyan was still alive, he was very good to me. He treated me like his biological granddaughter. However, after Han Jinyan was killed, his attitude toward me changed. At that time he asked me who the person who took Sister Fei away was, and I said I didn't know. Put aside the fact that I really didn't know, even if I knew, I wouldn't have told him. From then on, he became much colder to me until that time when he asked me to go to his place and meet the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion. When Han Xuanai reached the end of her sentence, her expression turned even graver. I really can't figure it out. It's obvious that Han Jinyan was the one who sought death. To think he actually conspired against Sister Fei, he deserved to die. However, he acted as though Han Jinyan was innocent and wanted to find the mysterious powerhouse who saved Sister Fei, to avenge Han Jinyan. Until now, Han Xuanai still could not figure this out. Xuanai, you're too naive. Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, no matter what, Han Jinyan is still Han Xian's biological grandson. He's a very important person to him. No matter what Han Jinyan did, it doesn't change the fact that he's his biological grandson. For this reason, no matter what outrageous things Han Jinyan has done from his perspective, it's impossible for him to think that Han Jinyan deserved to die. It's easy to say that he would place righteousness above family, but it's not that easy to do it. Duan Lingtian said. But even if he hates me, he can't do such a thing. How can he be so sure that I'll definitely marry the vice mansion master of the Jianghu mansion? If I'd rather die than submit, I'd still infuriate the vice mansion master of the Jianghu mansion. At that time, the Jianghu mansion would definitely not let the Greenwave Han mansion off. Don't tell me that the Greenwave Han mansion is not as good as his grandson, Han Jinyan? Han Xuanai said indignantly. After hearing what Duan Lingtian said, although she could understand Han Xian's feelings, the thought of Han Xian not caring about the safety of the Greenwave Han mansion still filled her heart with rage. Xuanai, if you think this way, it means that you've really matured. Duan Lingtian nodded before he continued to say, of course he must have thought about what you just said. However, since he's come this far, it shows that Han Jinyan's importance to him has long surpassed the entire Greenwave Han mansion. Not only that, but he must have thought that you wouldn't give up the entire Greenwave Han mansion for himself. After all, you're the eldest miss of Greenwave Han mansion, and your father is the mansion master of Greenwave Han mansion. In the Greenwave Han mansion, although he's the supreme elder, the decision-making power is still in the hands of your father. Just take the matter of the Jianghu mansion's young mansion master coming to the Greenwave Han mansion to propose marriage and specifically asking for your hand in marriage. In the entire Greenwave Han mansion, the person in the most difficult position is your father. On one hand, he's the mansion master of Greenwave Han mansion, so he has to think about the big picture. On the other hand, he's your father, so it's impossible for him to disregard your happiness. Marrying you to the vice mansion master of Jianghu mansion who has a bad reputation is no different from pushing you into a fire pit. Based on the current situation, your father is a good father because he chose to stand on your side instead of compromising like the Jianghu mansion. For the sake of your happiness, he'd rather lead the Greenwave Han mansion to fall out with the Jianghu mansion. When Duan Lingtian reached this part of the sentence, he was filled with awe. Perhaps Han Xuanai's father was not a qualified leader. However, he was definitely a qualified father. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Han Xuanai's face was already filled with tears unknowingly. Father? Although she already knew about the pressure her father was under, after hearing Duan Lingtian's detailed explanation, she could feel the difficulty her father was in. She could not help but feel guilty. At this moment, she made a decision in her heart. Naturally, she did not tell Duan Lingtian about this. Brother Lingtian, Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold are currently in closed-door cultivation. However, if they know you're here, they'll definitely interrupt their closed-door cultivation and come out to see you. Do you need me to call them out? After circulating her true energy to evaporate the tears on her face, Han Xuanai forced a smile on her face and changed the topic to Duan Lingtian. There's no need for that. Duan Lingtian shook his head. We'll meet sooner or later, so there's no hurry. Right now, all his attention was on Han Xuanai. As for Li Fei and his newborn son, since he was certain they were taken away by his cheapskate father's subordinates, it meant they were safe. Perhaps, Li Fei and his son had already reunited with his parents. What he was thinking about now was how he could help Han Xuanai resolve this crisis and the Greenwave Han mansion's crisis. Naturally, if it was only to resolve the crisis for Han Xuanai, the most straightforward way was to ask Han Xuanai to leave. Duan Lingtian believed the mansion master of Greenwave Han mansion must have made such a decision before, but he was rejected by Xuanai. The Xuanai he knew was definitely not the kind of person who would abandon her family and the Greenwave Han mansion for herself. Brother Lingtian, Little Gold, and I returned to Half Moon Island and Cloud Continent previously, but we couldn't find you. We returned to the Dao Marshal Saint Land and found the moon illumination sect through the clues you left behind on Cloud Continent. However, at that time, the Moon Illumination sect only existed in name. Where did you go after you left the Moon Illumination sect? Han Xuanai asked. The Moon Illumination sect only existed in name? Duan Lingtian frowned. He remembered he had only killed a Saint Stage Supreme Elder when he left the Moon Illumination sect. How did the other Saint Stage powerhouses in the Moon Illumination sect end up like this? Yes. Han Xuanai nodded. It said that the few Saint Stage powerhouses in the Moon Illumination sect have all gone missing. When the news spread out, it brought about a disaster. Duan Lingtian finally understood. If that was the case, it made sense. The reason the Moon Illumination sect could establish itself in the 9 sect alliances and become a 7th-rate sect was because of the few Saint Stage powerhouses in the sect. Once the news spread out that the few Saint Stage powerhouses had all gone missing, let alone the forces that were not on good terms with the Moon Illumination sect, even the forces that were on good terms with the Moon Illumination sect would join in to get a piece of the pie. As a 7th-rate sect, although the Saint Stage powerhouses in the Moon Illumination sect were no longer around, they still had a lot of cultivation resources. It was enough to make people jealous. However, I don't know why the few Saint Stage powerhouses in the Moon Illumination sect have gone missing. Duan Lingtian was deeply puzzled by this. I wonder how they're doing now. After learning that the Moon Illumination sect only existed in name, Duan Lingtian could not help but think of a few acquaintances in the Moon Illumination sect. He could not help but worry about them. In response to Han Xuanai's question, Duan Lingtian told her about his trip to the Windfall Nation and his encounter in the Windfall Nation. He also told her about the incident in the Situ clan, the conflict with the Dark Nether sect, and how King Qian's estate had sent Lin Dong from the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's Lin clan to kill him in an attempt to snatch the Devil Seal tablet from him. Xuanai knew about the Devil Seal tablet in his possession. Moreover, even if she did not know that the Devil Seal tablet was in his possession, he would not hide it from her. This was because it would not take long for the news of the Devil Seal tablet in his possession to spread to the Greenwave Han Mansion's district. At that time she would also know about it. The Devil Seal tablet? Han Xuanai could not help but frown when she learned that it was related to the Devil Seal tablet. In fact, she had gone to Cloud Continent with Qing Nu for the Devil Seal tablet. However, Qing Nu could not find the Devil Seal tablet even after searching for many years. It was only later that she found out that the Devil Seal tablet was in the hands of this big brother Ling Tian. However, although she knew about this, she did not tell Qing Nu or her father about it. This was because she was not sure if Qing Nu and her father would be able to resist the temptation of the Devil Seal tablet. If they could not, they would definitely snatch the Devil Seal tablet from her big brother Ling Tian. At that time, the most difficult thing to do would be her. On one hand, it was her family, and on the other hand, it was her big brother Ling Tian. In order to prevent conflict between her family and her big brother Ling Tian, she chose to keep this news a secret. In this case, it won't take long for the news of big brother Ling Tian possessing the Devil Seal tablet to spread to the Greenwave Han Mansion. Han Xuanai had a worried expression on her face. Let alone the powerhouses outside, even the people from the Greenwave Han Mansion would be greedy if they found out that her big brother Ling Tian possessed the Devil Seal tablet. Don't worry, Xuanai. This time, I came to the Greenwave Han Mansion in disguise and changed my surname. In the face of Han Xuanai's worries, Duan Lingtian smiled. At the same time, he activated the disguising secret tactic. In just a blink of an eye, the muscles on his face began to twitch. After a while, his face had completely changed into a young man with a cold expression. He was completely different from the Duan Lingtian from before. Right now, I'm Ling Tian, not Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian replied. Big brother Ling Tian, you, looking at the cold and unfamiliar face in front of her, Han Xuanai was completely taken aback. She was not unfamiliar with disguising. However, the disguising she knew required the use of props and could be seen through with spiritual energy. However, Duan Lingtian's disguising did not seem to be the kind of low-level disguising. She had witnessed the change in big brother Ling Tian's face with her own eyes. Everything happened in just a blink of an eye. The big brother Ling Tian in front of her had changed into another face. It was an extremely cold face. Out of curiosity, Han Xuanai reached out her hand to touch Duan Lingtian's face. However, she did not find any clues at all. In fact, even when she extended her spiritual energy, she did not notice any clues at all. This is simply unbelievable. Han Xuanai exclaimed softly. Chapter 1652. Duan Lingtian's disguising secret tactic greatly shocked Han Xuanai. Xuanai. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian had a flash of inspiration as he thought of a way to deal with the marriage proposal from the Rising Void Mansion. Why don't I teach you this disguising secret tactic? After that, you can disguise yourself with a disfigured appearance and show it to the young mansion master of the Rising Void Mansion. At that time, when he sees your disfigured appearance, he might not insist on marrying you anymore. The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, Han Xuanai's eyes lit up immediately. She instantly felt this was a good idea. However, when she thought about it carefully, her expression turned gloomy again. Brother Lingtian, this won't work. Moreover, this is just a temporary measure. Even if the Rising Sky Mansion's young mansion master cancels this marriage, once the matter of my disguising is exposed in the future, our Greenwave Han Mansion will suffer from the Rising Sky Mansion's revenge. Moreover, the Rising Sky Mansion has proposed to our Greenwave Han Mansion this time and has already set a date for the marriage. They have even invited many guests. For this reason, even if I disguise myself with a disfigured appearance and the Rising Sky Mansion's young mansion master is no longer interested in me, it's unlikely that the Rising Sky Mansion will cancel this marriage. After all, the date has already been set, and the guests have already been invited. No matter how ugly I am, I'll definitely make the Rising Sky Mansion's mansion master marry me. In the end, Han Xuanai had a helpless and bitter expression on her face. The Rising Sky Mansion was a fourth-rate force. Its strength was far from what their Greenwave Han Mansion could compare to. In front of the Rising Sky Mansion, even the Greenwave Han Mansion would have to tuck its tail between its legs and behave. The date of the marriage has already been set? The guests have already been invited? Duan Lingtian's expression turned grave as his eyes gleamed coldly. Xuanai, when is the date set? 1 year later. Han Xuanai replied. 1 year? Duan Lingtian nodded before continuing. In this case, unless something happens to the Rising Sky Mansion's young mansion master during this period of time, the Rising Sky Mansion won't let this matter go no matter what happens to the Greenwave Han Mansion, right? Yes. Han Xuanai nodded as a hint of disgust flashed in her eyes. She said resentfully, I've long heard about the young mansion master of the Rising Sky Mansion. He's not inferior to Han Jin Yan at all. It would be great if something happened to him and he died during this year. Oh my god, at this time Duan Lingtian did not say anything else. His eyes flickered and no one knew what he was thinking. Big brother Lingtian, you left a message on Cloud Continent saying that big sister Kerr was taken away by Zoroastrianism? Suddenly, Han Xuanai seemed to have thought of something and said to Duan Lingtian with a serious expression. What? Xuanai, do you know about Zoroastrianism? Looking at Xuanai's serious expression, Duan Lingtian vaguely realized that Xuanai might know about Zoroastrianism. Previously, I didn't know about Zoroastrianism as well. However, after I came back and asked Qing Nu, she gave me an ancient book that has records about Zoroastrianism. As Han Xuanai spoke, she raised her hand, and an ancient book appeared out of thin air in her hand before she passed it to Duan Lingtian. I folded the pages that introduce Zoroastrianism. Han Xuanai said again. With the mark that Han Xuanai had folded, Duan Lingtian immediately flipped to the pages that introduced Zoroastrianism. As time passed, Duan Lingtian's expression turned grave. Zoroastrianism, one of the 3 great sects in the Dao Martial Saint Land, the top force? After the Dao Martial Saint Land was divided into 2, they moved to the upper province? Duan Lingtian knew about the division of the Dao Martial Saint Land into the upper province and the lower province. He had even wondered if Zoroastrianism was a force in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. To be honest, he was mentally prepared for this. He had such thoughts because when Kerr's sister took her away and revealed her identity, even Diju, the 5-clawed golden dragon from the dragons, had never heard of Zoroastrianism. Previously, although Duan Lingtian knew the dragons were powerful, he did not know much about dragons. It was only when he went to the Windfall Nation and stayed in the Situ clan that he read about the dragons in some of the books that were passed down in the Situ clan since ancient times. The dragons were a 4th-rate force and one of the quasi-3rd-rate forces in the Debussy subterranean. Although a quasi-3rd-rate force was still a 4th-rate force to a certain extent, its strength was not something an ordinary 4th-rate force could compare to. Perhaps, it was weaker than a 3rd-rate force, but it was definitely stronger than an ordinary 4th-rate force. However, even an important person in such a force had never heard of Zoroastrianism. At that time, Duan Lingtian had already vaguely guessed Zoroastrianism was not a force in the Debussy subterranean but a force in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. However, although he guessed Zoroastrianism was a force in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, he did not expect it to be so exaggerated. According to the records in the book in his hand, Zoroastrianism was one of the top forces in the upper province of the Tao Martial Saint Land. The 3 religions and 9 sects. Since ancient times, the 3 great sects had been unshakable behemoths in the Tao Martial Saint Land. Zoroastrianism was one of them. After learning about Zoroastrianism, Duan Lingtian's mood turned extremely gloomy. A powerful force that stood at the top of the upper province of the Tao Martial Saint Land? How did Kerr get involved with someone from Zoroastrianism? Moreover, that person is her sister. Duan Lingtian could not figure it out at all. Zoroastrianism was one of the top forces in the upper province of the Tao Martial Saint Land. As for Kerr, she came from his hometown, Fresh Breeze Town. Fresh Breeze Town was an extremely remote place in the mortal continent, let alone the Tao Martial Saint Land. Zoroastrianism and Fresh Breeze Town were worlds apart. However, Kerr, who came from Fresh Breeze Town with him, was now involved with Zoroastrianism. The woman who looked exactly like Kerr claimed to be Kerr's sister and claimed to be a member of Zoroastrianism. Han Xuanai was speechless when she saw the changes in Duan Lingtian's expression. She could completely understand Duan Lingtian's current feelings. Initially, she did not think much of Zoroastrianism when she did not know what kind of force it was. However, when she read the book and learned about the origin and strength of Zoroastrianism, she was stunned. Only then did she know there was such a colossus in the Tao Martial Saint Land. It was one of the 3 oldest sects in the entire Tao Martial Saint Land. It was a colossus in the Tao Martial Saint Land. At that time, she thought if her brother Ling Tian found out the woman who took away Kerr's sister came from such a force, he would definitely not be able to accept it. As it turned out, she was right. Earlier, she had thought about whether she should hide Zoroastrianism from Duan Lingtian. However, when she thought about it, she felt it was inappropriate. After all, her brother Ling Tian would find out about it sooner or later. He had the right to know about it now. Brother Ling Tian. At this moment, it was Han Xuanai's turn to comfort Duan Lingtian. I'm fine. Duan Lingtian shook his head. He shook his slightly dizzy head before he said to Han Xuanai, Xuanai, help me arrange your room. I want to rest. All right. Han Xuanai nodded before she personally led Duan Lingtian to an empty room. Knowing that Duan Lingtian was in a bad mood, Han Xuanai sensibly bade him farewell and left. When she left, her face was filled with bitterness. She suddenly felt she was in the same boat as her brother Ling Tian. When Han Xuanai thought about her current situation, she felt extremely gloomy. To be honest, if she chose to escape, she could totally leave the Greenwave Han mansion. Her father had asked her to leave previously, but she was unwilling to leave. She knew if she left, the entire Greenwave Han mansion would be implicated. She did not care about Han Xian and the others in the Greenwave Han mansion. However, it was impossible for her to not care about her father and Uncle Mu. Due to this reason, she rejected her father's suggestion and was determined to stay. I can't believe that I, Han Xuanai, would have such a day. If I had known about Han Xian's wild ambition back then, I would have just ignored him. If that was the case, I wouldn't have gone to his place, and I wouldn't have been seen by the young mansion master of Chongsu Mansion. Every time Han Xuanai thought about the incident that day, her heart was filled with regret. However, as the saying went, those closely involved cannot see clearly. Han Xuanai did not think that even if she did not go that day, Han Xian would still have a way to make the young mansion master of Chongsu Mansion interested in her. All he had to do was draw a portrait of her. After Han Xuanai left, Duan Lingtian sat cross-legged on the bed in a daze. All he could think about was Kerr. As time passed by, he realized it was meaningless for him to continue thinking about her. He regained his senses immediately. Kerr was taken away by her sister. Her sister doesn't seem like someone who would hurt her. I can only hope that for the sake of Kerr, she won't hurt the child in Kerr's stomach. Until now, Duan Lingtian still could not forget the anger on the woman's face when she found out that Kerr was pregnant with his child. At that moment, it was as though she was in a hurry to kill him. Cultivate. Cultivate. When Duan Lingtian thought about how Kerr might have been taken to the upper province of the Tao Martial Saint Land, only the thought of cultivating was left in his heart. As far as he knew, one would need to have a cultivation base at the Eminent Saint stage at the very least to pass through the barrier between the upper and lower province of the Tao Martial Saint Land. Otherwise, it would be impossible to pass through. Only powerhouses at the early Eminent Saint stage or above had the ability to travel freely between the upper and lower province of the Tao Martial Saint Land. Kerr, wait for me. I'll definitely save you and our child. Duan Lingtian did not know when, but his eyes seemed to be filled with flames. Then, with just a thought, he entered the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda and entered the third level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. I hope I can gain something from this closed-door cultivation. If I can't break through to the Saint stage, I won't be able to help Xuanai at all. Duan Lingtian was under a lot of pressure during this closed-door cultivation. Chapter 1653. Currently, although Han Xuanai was still the eldest young miss of Greenwave Han Mansion, she was also under the surveillance of a group of people led by the Supreme Elder of Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Xan. News that someone had come to Han Xuanai's mansion. Moreover, it was a man who had not left even after a month had reached Han Xan's ears. That girl, even if she's not worried about her reputation being tarnished, isn't she worried that this matter would spread out and anger the young mansion master of Rising Void Mansion? Han Xan's expression was extremely grave. Previously, he had purposely allowed the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion to meet Han Xuanai purely because Han Xuanai did not cooperate at all to help him find the culprit who killed his grandson. In the past he had indeed been very kind to Han Xuanai. However, when he found out that his grandson's death was related to Duan Lingtian to a certain extent, he had completely thrown that little bit of affection to the back of his mind. Since Han Xuanai was unwilling to cooperate with him, he would destroy Han Xuanai. Naturally, he only wanted to destroy Han Xuanai. He did not plan to destroy the Greenwave Han Mansion. No matter what, the Greenwave Han Mansion was still a force that nurtured him. His current cultivation base was all thanks to the Greenwave Han Mansion's nurturing. Without the Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Xan, would not be who he was today. Moreover, Han Xan's current status was all because of the Greenwave Han Mansion. Without the Greenwave Han Mansion, he would be no different from a stray dog. Due to this reason, he had never thought of destroying the Greenwave Han Mansion. The only person he wanted to destroy was Han Xuanai because Han Xuanai did not cooperate with him to tell him who the culprit who killed his grandson was. When Han Xan heard that a stranger had come to Han Xuanai's mansion, and it was an unfamiliar young man who had stayed for a month, he could not wait to go to Han Xuanai's residence and kill the unfamiliar young man to prevent him from tarnishing Han Xuanai's reputation. He naturally didn't care about Han Xuanai's reputation. What he cared about was the safety of the Greenwave Han Mansion. If this matter were to reach the ears of the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion, he would definitely fly into a rage and vent his anger on the Greenwave Han Mansion. At that time, the Greenwave Han Mansion would also be standing on the opposite side of the Jianghu Mansion. Once something happened to the Greenwave Han Mansion, it would be difficult for him, the Grand Supreme Elder, to escape unscathed. Time's style under go. Warn that girl to ask that person to leave her mansion. If the young mansion master of Jianghu Mansion finds out about this, not only will she be in trouble, but the entire Greenwave Han Mansion will be in trouble as well. Han Xan looked at the green-clothed old man standing below and said in a deep voice. The green-clad old man was one of the Greenwave Han Mansion's inner mansion elders. He was usually at Han Xan's beck and call and treated Han Xan like a deity. Upon hearing Han Xan's words, he responded respectfully and went to look for Han Xuanai. Eldest Miss, you should know that not only are you the eldest miss of our Greenwave Han Mansion, but you're also the fiancée of the Jianghu Mansion's young mansion master. If people find out that you let an unfamiliar young man stay at your place, they'll definitely gossip. Once this matter reaches the ears of the Jianghu Mansion's young mansion master, I'm afraid he won't let this matter go. The green-clad old man did not beat around the bush when he saw Han Xuanai. You came here just to tell me this? Han Xuanai could not help but sneer in the face of this lackey beside Han Xan. If that's the case, please leave Elder Ko. This Greenwave Han Mansion's inner mansion elder was called Han Ko. Upon hearing Han Xuanai's words, a hint of anger flashed in Han Ko's eyes. However, when he thought of Han Xuanai's identity, he did not dare to show too much of the anger in his heart. He merely said in a deep voice, Eldest Miss, I know you won't listen to me. However, even if you don't let that person leave our Greenwave Han Mansion, you should at least let him leave your mansion to avoid arousing suspicion. I'm sure I don't have to tell you what kind of consequences this news will cause if it spreads out. Don't tell me you want the Jianghu Mansion to vent their anger on our Greenwave Han Mansion, eldest miss? When Han Ku reached the end of his sentence, he revealed his trump card. He was not the only one who knew that Han Xuanai cared about the safety of the Greenwave Han Mansion. Even Han Xan, who stood behind him, and all of the Greenwave Han Mansion's high-ranking officials who stood on Han Xan's side knew this very well. Otherwise, Han Xuanai would have long escaped from the Greenwave Han Mansion with the help of the Greenwave Han Mansion's mansion master. If Han Xuanai wanted to leave, they would not be able to stop her at all even if they wanted to. Put everything else aside, just the strength of the Greenwave Han Mansion's Mansion Master alone was not inferior to Han Xn. Coupled with the beast tamer Mui by the side of the Greenwave Han Mansion's Mansion Master, there was no one on their side who could stop her. This time, if it was not for the fact that the matter regarding Han Xuanai was not related to the survival of the Greenwave Han Mansion, the Mansion Master of Greenwave Han Mansion would have most likely made a move to teach these people who stood against him a lesson. Scram. Han Xuanai raised her beautiful brows and shouted in a low voice. When Han Ku saw how rude Han Xuanai was, horror dawned on him right away. Without saying anything else, he waved his sleeves and left. After Han Ku left, Jianghu appeared inside. Miss, actually what he said makes sense. Why don't we arrange for him to go somewhere else? I won't let brother Ling Tian leave. If it was any other time, Han Xuanai would definitely consider Jianghu's suggestion. However, at this time she rejected it without even thinking about it. Put aside the fact that he was her brother Ling Tian, it was impossible for her to chase him away. Even if he was not her brother Ling Tian, she would not let him go after Han Ku made such a scene. She knew very well who Han Ku was. She could also guess who had instructed Han Ku to appear in front of her. Are you finally panicking? Are you worried that if this matter spreads out, the young mansion master of Chongsu Mansion will be enraged and the Chongsu Mansion will deal with the Greenwave Han Mansion? Unknowingly, a sneer appeared on the corner of Han Xuanai's mouth. In the depth of her eyes, there was a cold gleam flashing in them. The only person who could make her reveal such a look was none other than the Greenwave Han Mansion's Supreme Elder, Han Xn, who had pushed her into the fire pit with one hand. On the other hand, Han Xn was instantly enraged when he heard Han Xuanai's reply from Han Ku. Don't tell me that girl is thinking of rebelling? Han Xn's expression was terrifyingly gloomy. A terrifying cold gleam could be seen in his eyes. It was as sharp as a blade, as though it could tear everything apart. Supreme Elder, what should we do now? We can't let her be so willful. If this continues, even if she didn't run away from the marriage, the Greenwave Han Mansion will be dragged down by her. Han Ku said with a worried expression. Go and investigate that person's identity first. Also, find out how he came to our Greenwave Han Mansion and what's his motive for coming to our Greenwave Han Mansion. Han Xan instructed as his eyes gleamed coldly. Han Ku responded and left. As Han Xan's subordinate and the Greenwave Han Mansion's inner mansion's elder, Han Ku naturally had his own ways to investigate Duan Lingtian's origin. Naturally, the origin he investigated was only limited to what happened after Duan Lingtian came to Greenwave City. Before this, according to his investigation, everything was blank. It was as though Duan Lingtian had appeared out of thin air in Greenwave City and appeared in the Greenwave City governor's estate. Lingtian. After Han Ku reported to Han Xn also learned about Duan Lingtian's name. Naturally, this was the name he revealed after coming to Greenwave City. It was not his full name. Someone outside? That girl's friend? Han Xn's eyes gleamed. As far as I know, other than going to the mortal continent with Jianghu a few years ago, that girl has always stayed in the mansion and rarely goes out. Even if she goes out, she would return in a short period of time. It's impossible for her to have any friends. Since that young man is staying at her place, it means that she's very close to him. Could it be that this young man is also someone she met when she went to the mortal continent? Han Xn guessed inwardly. Unfortunately, no matter how he guessed, he could not figure it out. Back then, the woman his grandson wanted to have an affair with was the fiancée of this young man named Ling Tian. Moreover, the person who killed his grandson was also a subordinate of this young man's father. If he could figure it out, he would definitely not be able to sit still. That should be the case. Han Ku deeply agreed with Han Xn's words. No matter what, we must think of a way to make him leave. At the very least, we must make him leave that girl's mansion. Also, order someone to keep an eye on the maids in that girl's mansion. Don't let them spread rumors. If anyone dares to spread rumors, kill her. Han Xn looked at Han Ku. Yes, Supreme Elder. Han Ku replied respectfully, I guarantee that those maids won't dare to spread this matter out. Apart from that, contact the other elders and unite them to pressure the mansion master. That girl is sleeping outside in her mansion. It's a potential threat to our Greenwave Han Mansion. Naturally, don't push it too hard. We're not asking that strange man to leave the Greenwave Han Mansion. We just want him to leave that girl's mansion. Han Xn then said to Han Ku, right now, that girl is very disgusted with us. If we force her into a corner, she might really just leave. That's not the result that I want. and it's not the result that all of you want as well. Don't worry, Supreme Elder. I'll immediately contact the other elders and pressure the Mansion Master. I'm sure the Mansion Master will prioritize the safety of our Greenwave Han Mansion when it comes to these major issues. Han Ku replied. Prioritize the safety of the Greenwave Han Mansion? Han Xian smiled disdainfully. If he's concerned about the safety of the Greenwave Han Mansion, he wouldn't have wanted to send that girl away. In his heart, the Greenwave Han Mansion might not be as important as that girl. In the eldest Miss' heart, her father is far more important than anything, including her own happiness. Han Ku smiled as well. Due to this reason, we don't have to worry about her rejecting this marriage. What we need to do is to make the young Mansion Master of the Rising Sky Mansion happily marry her. In this way, our Greenwave Han Mansion can be considered to be related to the Rising Sky Mansion from now on. Although the young Mansion Master of the Rising Sky Mansion is a little good for nothing, he's a dragon among men. He might even become the next Mansion Master of the Rising Sky Mansion in the future. Chapter 1654. Half an hour later, the group of Greenwave Han Mansion's high-ranking officials gathered together and went to look for the Greenwave Han Mansion's Mansion Master in a grandiose manner. The Greenwave Han Mansion's Mansion Master was a middle-aged man with a sturdy body. His face was as clear as jade and he wore a long silver robe. Just by standing there he emitted waves of majestic aura that pressured people. Even when the Greenwave Han Mansion's high-ranking officials such as Han Ku stood in front of him and felt his majestic aura, they did not even dare to breathe loudly. The Greenwave Han Mansion's Mansion Master, Han Jianghu, glanced at Han Ku and the others indifferently and asked, Elders, stewards, is there a reason why all of you came to look for me? At this moment Han Ku and the others finally caught their breaths. Han Ku was the first to stand up and said, Lord Mansion Master, the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion has already proposed marriage to our Greenwave Han Mansion. He wants to marry the eldest miss. Why? Are all of you here to persuade me to agree to this marriage? Han Jianghu sneered. Lord Mansion Master, this is not the reason why we're here. Han Ku said. At the same time, his heart was filled with disdain. This marriage was no longer something that could be decided by Han Jianghu alone, even though Han Xuan'ai was his daughter. Currently, this marriage had already been decided by the Rising Sky Mansion. Not only that, but the Rising Sky Mansion had also set the wedding date and sent out wedding invitations, inviting many guests from all over. The reason the Rising Sky Mansion did this was because they felt the Greenwave Han Mansion would not reject this marriage and would not dare to do so. In Han Ku's opinion, the Greenwave Han Mansion was indeed so. Therefore, this marriage was not something that could be changed by Han Jianghu alone. Unless the Rising Sky Mansion reneged on the marriage, the eldest miss of their Greenwave Han Mansion would definitely get married. It's not because of this matter? At this moment, it was Han Jianghu's turn to be curious. Lord Mansion Master, a strange young man recently came to the eldest miss mansion and has been staying in the eldest miss mansion for a month. I'm afraid this matter will damage the eldest miss' reputation. For this reason, we're here to ask you to persuade the eldest miss to ask her friend to leave her mansion and arrange a place for him to stay. Han Ku explained the purpose of his visit. Han Jianghu was a bit surprised because he didn't know that a strange young man had come to his daughter's residence. However, when he heard Han Ku's words, he couldn't help but sneer. I know my own daughter best. As for her reputation, I believe that my daughter has a clear conscience. You want me to persuade her to let her friend leave because you're worried that the young Mansion Master of Chongsu Mansion would be displeased, right? As he spoke, the sneer on Han Jianghu's face deepened. If it was in the past, if Han Ku and the others dared to slander his daughter in front of him, he would have slapped them. However, today the situation in the Greenwave Han Mansion was not optimistic at all. Even if it was him, he did not dare to do anything out of line just because he was the clan leader. Han Ku and the others didn't say anything, but their expressions said it all. I'll tell all of you one more time. Although the young Mansion Master of Chongshu Mansion came to our Greenwave Han Mansion to propose a marriage, I didn't agree to it at all. As a father, I have the right to choose my own son-in-law for my daughter. Han Jianghu glared at them. In an instant, it was as though he had transformed into an angry Vajra. His gaze swept across Han Ku and the others, causing them to feel even more pressured. Scram. As Han Jianghu shouted in a low voice, the air trembled and seemed to distort slightly. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, A rolling airwave surged out of Han Zhengtian's mouth. In just a blink of an eye, it shrouded Han Ku and the others and hit them, causing them to involuntarily take a few steps back. Various expressions appeared on Han Ku and the others' faces. In the end, they did not dare to say anything and left dejectedly. To them, their mission was already completed. As for what Han Zhengtian would do next, it was not up to them to decide. Han Xen. Han Zhengtian's eyes gleamed coldly as though he was about to devour someone. That day, when the young mansion master of Chongshu Mansion came to the Greenwave Han Mansion to propose a marriage, Han Xen was the one who received him. Han Xen even agreed to his proposal, causing the other party to leave happily. After learning about this matter, he immediately went to look for Han Xen. After a great battle, he relied on his strength that was stronger than Han Xen and forcefully injured Han Xen. At that time, almost 80% of the Greenwave Han Mansion's high-ranking officials actually stood on Han Xen's side and supported his decision. This caused him to be unable to make a move on Han Xen for the time being. Although he was furious at Han Xen for acting on his own accord, he also knew that his daughter's fate was linked to the fate of the Greenwave Han Mansion. If his daughter did not marry, the Greenwave Han Mansion would be doomed. If his daughter married, her lifetime of happiness would be destroyed. As a father, he would also live in pain for the rest of his life. This was because he could not even protect his own daughter. Due to Han Xen's actions and the actions of almost 80% of the Greenwave Han Mansion's high-ranking officials, he had already made a decision at that time. He would not let his daughter's lifetime of happiness be destroyed just like that. He wanted his daughter to leave. As for the calamity that the Greenwave Han Mansion would face because of this, he, the mansion master of Greenwave Han Mansion, would bear it together. He did not even think that he would be able to survive after his daughter left. However, for the sake of his daughter, he was even willing to give up his life. However, it did not cross his mind that his precious daughter would actually refuse to leave. For him, his daughter was also willing to give up everything, including her lifetime of happiness. For this reason, he had not been able to calm down during this period of time. He had been constantly thinking of a way to deal with this. No matter what, he would not let his daughter jump into the fire pit. He had long heard about the character of the young mansion master of Chongshu Mansion. If his daughter married him, her life would be ruined. It seems like this is the only path I can take, Han Zhengtian muttered in his heart. The path he spoke of was to kill the young mansion master of Chongshu Mansion. He believed that with his strength, it would be easy for him to do this. As long as he's dead, the Chongshu Mansion will naturally take the initiative to cancel this marriage. However, if I want to kill him without leaving any traces behind, I'll still have to make some preparations to prevent the Chongshu Mansion from investigating me and the Greenwave Han Mansion. Han Zhengtian thought to himself. There's a strange young man in Xuanai's mansion? Not just anyone can go to her place, let alone stay overnight at her place. Who's that young man? Out of curiosity, Han Zhengtian went to Han Xuanai's mansion. Father. When Han Xuanai saw Han Zhengtian, she did not seem surprised. Han Ku and the others went to look for you, right? You're really smart, little girl. It seems like they've come to look for you before they came to look for me. A doting expression could be seen in Han Zhengtian's eyes. At the same time, he could guess that Han Ku and the others were rejected by his daughter. Father, don't tell me you're here to persuade me as well? Han Xuanai said warily. However, as soon as these words left her mouth, she regretted it a little. This was because it was almost impossible. Her father was even willing to sacrifice his own life for her. How could he possibly persuade her to let her brother Ling Tian leave just because of what Han Ku and the others said? You little girl? Han Zhengtian shook his head. Han Zhengtian shook his head. He naturally knew that his daughter was speaking without thinking, so he didn't take it to heart. Father, I'm sorry. Han Xuanai took the initiative to apologize. There's no need for apologies between us, father and daughter. However, I'm very curious about who's allowed to stay in my precious daughter's mansion. As far as I know, he's the first young man who's been here as a guest, right? Moreover, he's been staying here for a month. A hint of curiosity could be seen in Han Zhengtian's eyes when he reached the end of his sentence. Father, he's the brother Ling Tian I mentioned to you before. Han Xuanai smiled. Brother Ling Tian? The outstanding young genius from the mortal continent, Duan Ling Tian, whom you mentioned before? Han Zhengtian asked in surprise. Yes, that's him. Han Xuanai nodded. But, didn't he leave the Moon Illumination sect and disappear? How did he end up here? Han Zhengtian knew a little about Duan Ling Tian. He knew he was from the mortal continent with an extraordinary innate talent. He came from a remote place in the mortal continent and climbed to the peak of the mortal continent step by step. In the end he even came to the Dao Martial Saint land. To be honest, he was very interested in Duan Lingtian. He even had the thought of recruiting him into the Greenwave Han mansion. Unfortunately, his daughter did not bring Duan Lingtian back with her when she went out last time. Father, you have to promise me that you won't make things difficult for brother Lingtian no matter what. Han Xuanai's expression suddenly turned solemn as she said to Han Zhengtian solemnly. Silly girl, what's so serious about? Han Zhengtian shook his head and smiled. Father, I won't tell you if you don't promise me, Han Xuanai said solemnly. This was the first time Han Zhengtian had seen his daughter so serious. The smile on his face disappeared as he nodded. All right, I promise you that I won't make things difficult for your brother Lingtian no matter what. You can't snatch his things away in any way. Han Xuanai added again. Silly girl, you're getting more and more impudent. He's just a little fellow from the mortal continent. What kind of treasure would he have that's worth me, the mansion master of Greenwave Han Mansion, snatch? Han Zhengtian shook his head helplessly. Promise me. However, Han Xuanai was still so serious. All right, I promise you that I won't snatch your brother Lingtian's things away in any way. Is that okay? Although Han Zhengtian's tone was a little helpless, his eyes were filled with love when he looked at Han Xuanai. When Han Xuanai saw that Han Zhengtian had agreed, she heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, she told him about Duan Lingtian's experience, including the Devil Seal Tablet. Devil Seal Tablet? Han Zhengtian's eyes narrowed immediately. Chapter 1655. The Devil Seal Tablet was one of the 10 great Super Saint weapons on the 10 great Saint weapons ranking in the Dao Martial Saint land. It was also one of the top 10 Super Saint weapons on the 10 great Saint weapons ranking. The reason it was ranked at the top was not because of how powerful the Devil Seal Tablet was, but because of its effect. The Devil Seal Tablet had an amazing ability to restrain devil cultivators. Due to this reason, when he found out that the Devil Seal Tablet might appear in the mortal continent in the south of the Dao Martial Saint land, he ordered Jianghu to search for it. Unfortunately, she did not manage to find it. In the end, he could only give up. However, it did not cross his mind that the Devil Seal Tablet that he asked Jianghu to look for would actually be in the hands of Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian was someone his daughter met after she followed Jianghu to the mortal continent. In other words, the news he received was true. The Devil Seal Tablet was indeed in the mortal continent. However, Jianghu did not obtain it, and it was obtained by Duan Lingtian instead. At this moment he finally understood why his daughter wanted his promise. It was because the Devil Seal Tablet was indeed very attractive to him. Of course, compared to his daughter, the Devil Seal Tablet was nothing. In his heart, his daughter was the most important thing. She was more important than anything, including his life. Girl, you're afraid I'll snatch your brother Lingtian's Devil Seal Tablet away, right? Han Zhengtian shook his head and continued, however, your brother Lingtian's innate talent is indeed shocking. In the past, I thought he's comparable to the younger generation's geniuses in our Greenwave Han mansion. However, it seems like I've underestimated him. I've also heard of Lin Dong, the strongest person on the heaven ranking in the southern Ridjuan mansion. His strength is not inferior to the strongest person on the heaven ranking in our Greenwave Han mansion. Most importantly, he actually managed to kill Lin Dong, who had broken through to the saint stage. Just based on this alone, not only in the Ling Nayuan mansion, but even in our Greenwave Han mansion and the entire lower and upper province of the Dao Martial Saint land, nobody below the saint stage is a match for him. As he spoke, Han Zhengtian's eyes lit up. Girl, I'm very interested in your brother Lingtian. Can you introduce me to him? Father, after big brother Lingtian came, he went into seclusion. I'm afraid he hasn't. Just as Han Xuanai shook her head and was about to say that Duan Lingtian was still in seclusion, a voice came from outside and interrupted her. Miss, young Master Lingtian wants to see you. It was a servant girl in Han Xuanai's mansion who was talking. Big brother Lingtian has come out of seclusion? Hearing the servant girl's words, Han Xuanai's eyes suddenly lit up. Quickly invite him over. Looks like I'm pretty lucky. Han Zhengtian smiled. At the same time, in the depths of his eyes, there was a glimmer of light mixed with some deep meaning. It was obvious that he was thinking about something. When Duan Lingtian saw Han Xuanai again, he noticed there was another person next to her. This middle-aged man who exuded a dignified aura from head to toe gave him a certain amount of pressure as well. If it was a month ago, he would have been suppressed to the point of suffocation in front of this middle-aged man. This was because the aura on this middle-aged man's body was the strongest among all the people he had ever seen. Even Qing Nu and the Greenwave City governor could not be compared to him. Even the five-clawed golden dragon from the dragon clan, Di Ju, seemed to be inferior to him. When he looked at the middle-aged man again, he could vaguely see the outline of Han Xuanai's face between his eyebrows. Immediately, Duan Lingtian could vaguely guess his identity. It was the mansion master of Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Zheng Tian. Big brother Ling Tian, you've come out of seclusion. When Han Xuanai saw Duan Lingtian, her face was filled with joy. Her mood seemed to have turned for the better. Han Zheng Tian was also aware of this, and a meaningful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded at Han Xuanai. After that, he looked at Han Zheng Tian and bowed slightly. Greetings, Mansion Master Han. I'm Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian did not hide his true identity in front of Han Zheng Tian. Ah, good. Duan Lingtian, I've heard about you from Xuanai a long time ago. You've risen from the mortal continent to today. Your future is limitless. Han Zheng Tian laughed and continued to say, however, since you're Xuanai's friend, there's no need for you to be so courteous in front of me. If you don't mind, you can just call me Uncle Han. Even he could not help but sigh emotionally and praise Duan Lingtian's achievements. Big brother Lingtian, your face is too cold. You should change back to your original face. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it, Han Xuanai said to Duan Lingtian playfully. Disguise? Han Zheng Tian was stunned when he heard this. In fact, when Duan Lingtian walked in, he had extended his divine consciousness to probe Duan Lingtian's body. What surprised him was he could not see through Duan Lingtian's cultivation base at all. Every time he tried to probe Duan Lingtian further, he would discover that Duan Lingtian seemed to have transformed into a bottomless abyss. No matter how he extended his divine consciousness, he could not see the bottom. Although he was surprised by this, he did not think much of it. The Dao Martial Saint Land was so big that there were some secret tactics that could conceal one's cultivation base. Even an eminent Saint Stage powerhouse might not be able to see through these secret tactics. The reason Han Zheng Tian was stunned was not because of this, but because of Duan Lingtian's appearance. He had probed Duan Lingtian's appearance with his divine consciousness before, but he did not see any signs of disguise. However, when he saw Duan Lingtian's face had undergone a drastic change in just a blink of an eye and transformed into a handsome young man with dashing eyebrows and bright eyes, he was shocked again. He had never seen or heard of such a disguising technique before. He did not rely on any external force, and he had completely relied on his own strength to change the facial muscles. As though he had recalled something, Han Zheng Tian's eyes lit up immediately. Uncle Han. Duan Lingtian greeted Han Zheng Tian with a smile again. He admired Han Zheng Tian very much. At the very least, he was a responsible man and a responsible father. He did not agree to the marriage proposal from the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion just because of the pressure the Rising Sky Mansion had given the Greenwave Han Mansion. He was a qualified father. Such a person was worthy of his respect. Then Han Zheng Tian began to chat with Duan Lingtian. In the beginning he talked about how Han Xuanai was mischievous when she was young. When Han Xuanai was young, she was even more mischievous than when Duan Lingtian had just met her. She had caused a lot of trouble and made a lot of jokes. Father, why are you always talking about me? I heard that you made grandfather worry a lot when you were young as well. Han Xuanai said, unwilling to be outdone. Alright, I won't talk about you anymore. Han Zheng Tian shook his head and looked at Duan Lingtian before he said, since you're Xuanai's friend, you can call me Uncle Han as well. If you don't mind, I'll call you Little Tian. Duan Lingtian nodded with a smile. Naturally, he did not mind at all. Little Tian, I heard from Xuanai about you in the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansions district. Did you really kill Lin Dong, the #1 person on the heaven ranking in the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion? Not only that, but you killed him after he had broken through to the Saint Stage? Han Zheng Tian asked curiously as he looked at Duan Lingtian. He did not mention anything about the Devil Seal tablet because it was too sensitive. He was afraid Duan Lingtian would think too much about it. As for this question, it was also the thing that shocked him the most besides the Devil Seal tombstone. As a Saint Stage powerhouse, he naturally knew what it meant to break through to the Saint Stage. It was not a quantitative improvement, but a qualitative change. Even if a Saint Stage powerhouse had just broken through, his strength was not something a Saint Rudiment Stage Martial or Dao Cultivator could compare to. Just like in their Greenwave Han Mansion, The number one person on the heaven ranking whose strength was not inferior to Lin Dong was publicly acknowledged as the strongest person below the Saint stage in the Greenwave Han Mansion. However, a person who was completely defeated by him before he had broken through to the Saint stage could easily defeat him once he had broken through to the Saint stage. This was the difference between a non-Saint stage and a Saint stage powerhouse. Once one entered the Saint stage, it would be another world. Due to this reason, he was still skeptical about Duan Lingtian being able to kill Lin Dong, who had broken through to the Saint stage when his cultivation base was only at the Saint rudiment stage. This was just too ridiculous. I was just lucky. Han Zhengtian was curious about this. Duan Lingtian was not surprised at all as he smiled faintly in response. As the mansion master of Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Zhengtian's eyes were sharp. Naturally, he could tell Duan Lingtian was not lying from Duan Lingtian's response. Due to this reason, he was even more shocked. Although I don't know how you did it, the fact that you're able to do this is enough to prove that nobody below the Saint stage is a match for you in the entire Dao Martial Saint land. Han Zhengtian sighed emotionally. Below the Saint stage? Duan Lingtian's heart jolted, but he did not deny it. A month ago he might have felt smug because of Han Zhengtian's praise. However, he did not feel anything now. This was because the world below the Saint stage was no longer his world. Brother Lingtian, I just told my father that you have the Devil Seal tablet. You won't blame me, right? At this moment, Han Xuanai sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian nervously. It's all right. Duan Lingtian replied through voice transmission with a smile. Since your father knows about my identity, it won't take long for him to find out that I have the Devil Seal tablet even if you don't tell him. Upon hearing this, Han Xuanai sighed in relief. Girl, please leave for a while. I want to talk to little Tian alone. Han Zhengtian suddenly looked at Han Xuanai and motioned for her to leave first. Father. Upon hearing this, Han Xuanai could not help but frown. She thought her father was going to break his promise to her and make a move on her brother Lingtian to snatch the Devil Seal tablet away. Don't worry. Chapter 1656. When Han Xuanai saw that Han Zhengtian understood what she meant and expressed that he would not go back on his word, she felt at ease and left the room. Although she was curious why her father had asked brother Lingtian to stay behind, based on her father's attitude, it was clear he did not want her to know about it. After Han Xuanai left, Han Zhengtian looked at Duan Lingtian solemnly. Uncle Han. Duan Lingtian looked at Han Zhengtian in confusion. He did not know why Han Zhengtian had asked him to stay behind. Little Tian, I noticed your disguising technique is very ingenious. It must be a unique disguising technique, right? Han Zhengtian asked as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. He had thought Han Zhengtian had asked him to stay behind because of the Devil Seal tablet. However, it seemed like it had nothing to do with the Devil Seal tablet. He could also tell that Han Zhengtian seemed to be interested in his disguise secret technique. I wonder if you can teach me your disguise technique? Han Zhengtian asked as he looked at Duan Lingtian with a burning gaze. When he saw Duan Lingtian was stunned, he added, Of course I won't take it for free. I'll give you something else in exchange. I won't let you suffer a loss. Uncle Han, there's no need for an exchange. You're Xuanai's father. Naturally, you're my elder as well. This is my first time here, so I didn't bring any gifts. It's not a big deal for me to teach you the disguising technique. However, I don't want anyone to know about the disguising technique. In other words, you're the only one who can learn it. As for Xuanai, I'll teach her personally when I return. Duan Lingtian shook his head as he spoke with a serious expression on his face. Previously, when Huolao had taught him the disguising technique, he had told him about it. The disguising technique was considered one of the most powerful secret techniques in the Devata realms. He had obtained it by chance. That disguising technique could deceive anyone in terms of appearance alone. Of course, that was only his appearance. If there were two people who were close to each other, and someone used this kind of secret technique to disguise himself as one of them without any flaws, the other person would definitely be able to see through it. This was because the closeness between them was no longer limited to appearance. You don't have to worry about that. I can make an oath. Han Zhengtian's eyes brightened when he heard Duan Lingtian was willing to teach him the disguising secret tactic for free. He was about to prick his finger and use his blood to swear on the lightning penalty oath that would be witnessed by the 99 heavenly tribulation. Wait. At this moment, Duan Lingtian stopped Han Zhengtian. Han Zhengtian couldn't help but frown when he saw this. He thought that Duan Lingtian had gone back on his word. Uncle Han, I want to know why you want to obtain my disguise technique so badly. Duan Lingtian asked solemnly as he looked at Han Zhengtian. Han Zhengtian fell silent when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Don't tell me you're thinking of killing the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion? Duan Lingtian asked again. When Han Zhengtian heard Duan Lingtian's words, even the usually calm Han Zhengtian's eyebrows twitched slightly even though his expression did not change. Duan Lingtian saw it clearly. Duan Lingtian instantly realized he had guessed correctly. He had stopped Han Zhengtian because he had thought of this. When Han Zhengtian saw the change in Duan Lingtian's eyes, he knew he had been exposed. I don't want Xuanai to marry that good-for-nothing rich kid. Based on the current situation, this is the only way. Han Zhengtian said solemnly. When Han Zhengtian said this, it was obvious he had admitted that he wanted to disguise himself to kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. Uncle Han, I really admire you for going to this extent for Xuanai. Duan Lingtian said solemnly, however, I want to confirm something. Even if you disguise yourself to kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, can you guarantee the Rising Sky Mansion won't suspect the Greenwave Han Mansion and won't make a move on the Greenwave Han Mansion? If you have full confidence that this won't bring danger to the Greenwave Han Mansion and you, I'm willing to teach you the appearance-changing secret tactic. However, if you don't have full confidence, then I can't teach you the appearance-changing secret tactic. Duan Lingtian continued to say. He did not mind teaching Han Zhengtian the disguise secret tactic. No matter what, Han Zhengtian was Xuanai's father, and he had long regarded Xuanai as his biological sister. Since he loved her, he did not treat Han Zhengtian as an outsider. When Han Zhengtian heard this, he could not help but frown. Confident? Naturally he did not. In fact, even if he disguised himself to prevent the people from the Rising Sky Mansion from finding out the Greenwave Han Mansion was related to the death of the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, the Rising Sky Mansion would not let the Greenwave Han Mansion go. They would rather kill the wrong person than let the wrong person go. To the Rising Sky Mansion, a mere fifth-rate force like the Greenwave Han Mansion was nothing. Annihilating them was a small matter that could be done with a wave of his hand. Faced with Duan Lingtian's burning gaze, Han Zhengtian smiled wryly and shook his head. He did not lie because he knew he would not be able to fool the young man in front of him. The young man in front of him might be young, but his wise eyes seemed to be able to see through everything, including his heart. Then, please forgive me for not teaching you the disguise secret tactic, Uncle Han. Duan Lingtian said apologetically. Little Tian, I know you're thinking for my sake, but there's no turning back for this matter. Han Zhengtian said solemnly, currently Han Xan has represented our Greenwave Han Mansion to accept the marriage proposal from the Rising Sky Mansion. Not only that, but the Rising Sky Mansion has also set the wedding date for next year, and they've even sent out invitations to guests from afar. There's only one way to prevent this marriage from happening, and that's to kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. Originally there was another way, and that was to ask that girl Xuanai to leave. However, that girl is too sensible and she's unwilling to leave me. She's unwilling to put the Greenwave Han Mansion in danger because of her, so she decided to stay. Now even I can't persuade her. Han Zhengtian smiled wryly. Actually, I've thought of using a special method to make her fall into a coma and ask someone to bring her away. However, that girl is very smart. She seemed to know I might use that method, so she swore on the lightning penalty oath right in front of me that if I did that, she wouldn't live even if she managed to escape. When Han Zhengtian reached the end of his sentence, a hint of helplessness and relief could be seen in his eyes. He was helpless because his daughter did not listen to him and did not cooperate with his decision. He was relieved because his daughter had grown up and knew how to take responsibility, even if it was not a responsibility she should bear. Upon hearing Han Zhengtian's words, Duan Lingtian's heart jolted. Although he had known Han Xuanai for many years, in his memory Han Xuanai was just a young girl who had never grown up. He did not expect that at some point in time she had already become so responsible. Due to this reason, his heart ached even more for Han Xuanai. Rising Sky Mansion. Duan Lingtian's eyes were burning with rage as though it could burn everything. I've thought about it. Han Zhengtian looked at Duan Lingtian and said, after I kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, even if the Rising Sky Mansion wants to vent their anger on the Greenwave Han Mansion, Xuanai will still be able to live. At that time you can bring her away and she won't be breaking her oath. For this reason I still hope you can teach me the disguising secret tactic. No. Duan Ling Tian rejected him immediately. What a joke. Han Zheng Tian was planning to abandon the Greenwave Han mansion and even him. Naturally, he would not agree to Han Zheng Tian's request. Otherwise, how would he be able to face Xuanai in the future? Little Tian, you should know your disguising secret tactic is just icing on the cake. Even without your disguising secret tactic, I'll still do the same, Han Zheng Tian said as he shook his head. His expression was resolute as though he had made up his mind. Uncle Han, this matter isn't as simple as it seems. Don't make a decision so easily. Duan Ling Tian smiled wryly. In fact, a month ago he had thought about killing the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion to help Han Xuanai escape from the abyss of suffering. However, when he was in closed-door cultivation he thought about it carefully and felt something was amiss. The news of Xuanai's father falling out with the supreme elder of Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Xin, because of this marriage must have spread to the Rising Sky Mansion. If it did not affect the marriage, the Rising Sky Mansion might not make a fuss about it. However, if it did, the Rising Sky Mansion would definitely not let Han Zheng Tian go. If the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion was killed at such a critical juncture, the Rising Sky Mansion would immediately suspect Han Zheng Tian. At that time, not only Han Zheng Tian, but the entire Greenwave Han Mansion would have to bear the wrath of the Rising Sky Mansion. For this reason, Duan Ling Tian knew at that time that it might not be difficult for him to kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, but the consequences of killing the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion was not something the Greenwave Han Mansion could bear. If it's possible, I don't want to do this as well. However, this is the only way for now, Han Zheng Tian said. Duan Ling Tian frowned. Is there really no other way? Duan Ling Tian frowned. Is there any other way to prevent the Rising Sky Mansion from implicating the Greenwave Han Mansion after killing the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion? There's only one way to prevent the Rising Sky Mansion from implicating the Greenwave Han Mansion after killing the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. However, it's not realistic. Han Zheng Tian shook his head and sighed. What's the possibility? Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. A year later, the Rising Sky ranking battle that's held once every 50 years will be held in the Rising Sky Mansion's district. As far as I know, the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion will also participate in the Rising Sky ranking battle. Moreover, he's aiming to rank first in the Rising Sky ranking. The Rising Sky Mansion has set the date of his marriage with Xuanai to be held a month after the Rising Sky ranking battle ends. When Han Zheng Tian reached the end of his sentence, his eyes gleamed coldly as though he was about to devour someone. The Rising Sky ranking battle is held once every 50 years? Chapter 1657. Yes. Han Zheng Tian nodded. The Rising Sky ranking is an extremely valuable ranking in the Rising Sky Mansion's district. Only martial and Dao cultivators below the age of 50 are allowed to participate in it. Due to this reason, each person only has one chance to participate in the Rising Sky ranking battle in their lifetime. There are only 10 people in the Rising Sky ranking. These 10 people's rankings will be decided during the ranking battle. They've been around for 50 years. Due to this reason, the Rising Sky ranking is a very meaningful ranking in the Rising Sky Mansion. Han Zheng Tian continued to explain. Duan Ling Tian finally understood. After listening to Han Zheng Tian's explanation, he had a certain understanding of the Rising Sky ranking. At the same time, he knew being able to be listed in the Rising Sky ranking was a very honorable thing in the Rising Sky Mansion's district. It's precisely because the Rising Sky ranking represents the elites of the Rising Sky Mansion that even the fourth-rate force, the Rising Sky Mansion, values the Rising Sky ranking a lot. Moreover, the Rising Sky Mansion has set a rule many years ago that only Rising Sky Mansion's disciples who have been listed in the Rising Sky ranking are qualified to participate in the election for the next Mansion Master. Han Zheng Tian said, the Mansion Master of the Rising Sky Mansion in this area wants to pass the position of Mansion Master to his son, the young Mansion Master. Due to this reason, the young Mansion Master must be ranked in the top 10 of the Rising Sky ranking. Otherwise, he's destined to miss out on the position of Mansion Master of the Rising Sky Mansion. However, although the young Mansion Master of the Rising Sky Mansion is a good-for-nothing playboy who likes to play with women, one must admit that he's a genius in the martial Dao. Although it'll be difficult for him to rank first in the Rising Sky ranking with his strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to rank in the top 3, Han Zheng Tian said. Han Zheng Tian continued to say, Uncle Han, why did you suddenly mention the Rising Sky ranking to me? Don't tell me the battle in the Rising Sky ranking battle doesn't involve life and death? Duan Lingtian asked bluntly with a glint in his eyes. He believed that Han Zhengtian would not mention the Rising Sky ranking for no reason, especially when he had asked Han Zhengtian if there was any other way to help Xuanai resolve this calamity without implicating the Greenwave Han Mansion. That's right. Han Zhengtian nodded. The battle for the Rising Sky ranking doesn't involve life and death. This is a rule that has been passed down since ancient times in the Rising Sky Mansion's district. The reason such a rule was set up is to allow the middle-aged people in the Rising Sky Mansion to fight with all their might. In that case, as long as someone can kill the young mansion master of the Rising Sky Mansion during the Rising Sky ranking battle, the Rising Sky Mansion won't be implicated in the Greenwave Han Mansion? Then, the marriage between the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion and Xuanai will also come to an end? Duan Lingtian's eyes suddenly lit up. That's right. Han Zhengtian nodded again before a bitter expression appeared on his face. However, even if there are one or two people who are stronger than the young mansion master of the Rising Sky Mansion, they'll definitely not kill them out of respect for the Rising Sky Mansion. As for the others, they might not be a match for the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. Due to this reason, he did not think the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion would be killed during the Rising Sky ranking battle. The reason he mentioned the Rising Sky ranking battle was to convince Duan Lingtian that apart from killing the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, there was no other way to save his daughter from the Sea of Fire. Uncle Han, do you know how strong the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion is? Duan Lingtian asked. Refined Saint Stage. Han Zhengtian said solemnly, a few years ago, I heard he had broken through to the Refined Saint Stage. Now that the Rising Sky ranking battle is about to begin, the Rising Sky Mansion will definitely provide him with the best cultivation resources. For this reason, it's not impossible for him to break through to the intermediate Refined Saint Stage during the Void Crush Sect's ranking battle. Intermediate Refined Saint Stage? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow. As far as he knew, even in a sixth-rate force, the strongest person was only at the Refined Saint Stage. A young master of a fourth-rate force who was not even 50 years old had already broken through to the Refined Saint Stage? At this moment, Duan Lingtian finally realized how terrifying a fourth-rate force was. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said he'd be able to enter the top 3 during the Rising Sky ranking battle. Han Zhengtian smiled wryly. Uncle Han, apart from the age restriction, are there any other requirements to participate in the Rising Sky ranking battle? Can people who are not from the Rising Sky Mansion's district participate? Duan Lingtian asked. Theoretically, as long as one is below the age of 50, anyone can participate. Naturally, people who are not from the Rising Sky Mansion's district won't participate in the Rising Sky ranking battle. This is because every fourth-rate force has a similar ranking battle that is held once every 50 years. The only difference is that the time is different. Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Lingtian nodded, and a strand of an imperceptible bright light flashed deep within his eyes. Uncle Han, do you trust me? Duan Lingtian asked suddenly as he raised his head to look at Han Zhengtian. Han Zhengtian was stunned. He did not know why Duan Lingtian would ask such a question. However, under Duan Lingtian's gaze he nodded. Although this is my first time meeting you, I've heard about you more than once from Xuanai. I know you're a trustworthy person, so I trust you. Thank you, Uncle Han. Duan Lingtian thanked him and said, Uncle Han, after I came to the Dao Martial Saint Land, I made a friend. He's not much older than me, but his strength is much higher than mine. When I first met him a few years ago, he was already at the peak of the Pristine Saint Stage. Currently, he must have broken through to the Refined Saint Stage. Duan Lingtian said with a burning gaze, I plan to look for him and ask him to kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion during the Rising Sky ranking battle. Boom. Duan Lingtian's words were like a bolt from the blue. It stunned Han Zhengtian. This was undoubtedly a pleasant surprise to him. Are you confident? Just as he had said earlier, he did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words at all. However, he was more concerned about whether Duan Lingtian's friend was stronger than the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion or not. Uncle Han, he's only a few months older than me. After a few years, he must have broken through to the Refined Saint Stage. It's not impossible for him to break through to the Intermediate Refined Saint Stage or the Mastery Refined Saint Stage. Duan Lingtian nodded confidently. His words caused Han Zhengtian's eyes to brighten immediately. He felt there was a chance. To be honest, although he had made up his mind to kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, he had no other choice. If there was a way to solve his daughter's problem without involving the Greenwave Han Mansion, he was naturally willing to give it a try. Moreover, this method was suggested by Duan Lingtian. Just as he had said, although this was his first time meeting Duan Lingtian, he already knew Duan Lingtian was a trustworthy person. Due to this reason, he did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words at all. Not only that, Duan Lingtian spoke again. However, this time he was intentionally whetting Han Zhengtian's appetite. When he saw the curiosity in Han Zhengtian's eyes, he continued to say, I suspect he's a disciple from a quasi-third-rate force in the Debussy subterranean because he can easily take out many third-rate saint stones. A quasi-third-rate force. One must admit that Duan Lingtian's words shocked Han Zhengtian once again. Although a quasi-third-rate force was still a fourth-rate force to a certain extent, it was still superior to ordinary fourth-rate forces. Although the Rising Sky Mansion was powerful, it was only an ordinary fourth-rate force. Compared to a quasi-third-rate force, it was far from being comparable. The cultivation resources possessed by a quasi-third-rate force were also better than ordinary fourth-rate forces. Their Saint Stone reserves were the best in the Debussy subterranean. They could produce a large amount of third-rate Saint Stones. Can you really contact him and ask for his help? Han Zhengtian asked as he stared at Duan Lingtian with a burning gaze. The fact that he, the leader of a fifth-rate force, lost his composure was enough to show how shocking Duan Lingtian's words were to him. Uncle Han, this matter concerns Xuanai's happiness. I don't dare to joke about it, Duan Lingtian said solemnly. Moreover, it doesn't matter if you believe me for now. If you want to personally kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion, it won't be too late even if you wait until the Rising Sky ranking battle ends, right? Duan Lingtian said again. Little Tian, if you can really ask your friend to help you kill the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion during the Rising Sky ranking battle, I'll owe you a big favor. Han Zhengtian said solemnly. Uncle Han, you're treating me like an outsider. This is what I should do. Xuanai has helped me a lot back then, and I've long regarded her as my biological sister. I don't need anything in return for helping my biological sister. Duan Lingtian said solemnly. I'm treating you like an outsider. Han Zhengtian nodded. After Han Zhengtian left, Han Xuanai immediately went up to Duan Lingtian and asked curiously, Brother Lingtian, what did my father say to you? It's so mysterious. Nothing much. He just wanted to discuss with me to see if there's any way I can help you get through this difficult time. Duan Lingtian looked at Han Xuanai lovingly. Brother Lingtian, this matter isn't as simple as it seems. Han Xuanai smiled wryly. In fact, she had already accepted her fate to a certain extent. For the sake of her father and the Greenwave Han Mansion, she was prepared to sacrifice herself. We'll only know if it's as simple as that. Xuanai, Brother Lingtian will be leaving soon. Take good care of yourself. Perhaps, when you see Brother Lingtian again, the problem you're facing now will be solved. Duan Lingtian said to Han Xuanai. Brother Lingtian, you're leaving? Chapter 1658. Han Xuanai really wanted to say that she hoped Duan Lingtian could stay by her side before she married into the Rising Sky Mansion. Apex novel. However, she could not bring herself to say it. Could she tell her big brother Lingtian that she had already resigned herself to her fate? Xuanai, the reason I'm leaving this time is because I really have something important to do. Don't worry, big brother Lingtian will come back for you sooner or later. Duan Lingtian smiled at Han Xuanai and bade her farewell before he left. Naturally, before he left, he also asked Han Xuanai to turn around and bid farewell to Little Black, Little Gold and Little White. After all, he did not meet the three little fellows this time. He came in a hurry and left in a hurry. Duan Lingtian's departure caused Han Xuanai to be filled with disappointment. Originally, she thought her big brother Lingtian would be able to accompany her through this torturous year. It did not cross her mind that her big brother Lingtian had to leave first because he had something to attend to. Naturally, she did not blame her big brother Lingtian in her heart. She believed her big brother Lingtian would not leave her at this time unless he really had something to attend to. Han Xuanai trusted Duan Lingtian almost blindly. Now that Duan Lingtian had left, the group of people led by the Supreme Elder of Greenwave Han Mansion, Han Xin, heaved a sigh of relief. In this way, they did not have to worry about Han Xuanai's reputation being tarnished. They did not have to worry about the Rising Sky Mansion taking their anger out on the Greenwave Han Mansion or even them. The mansion master just went to visit the eldest miss, and that person left just like that. It seems like the Mansion Master is still very worried that the Rising Sky Mansion will take their anger out on the Greenwave Han Mansion. Han Ke looked at Han Xian and smiled. No matter what, he's still the Mansion Master of Greenwave Han Mansion. It's impossible for him to anger the Rising Sky Mansion just because of an unfamiliar young man. Han Xian was not surprised by this at all. Supreme Elder, now that that person has left the Greenwave Han Mansion. Should we? As Han Ke spoke, he made a kill gesture. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Duan Lingtian. Since he has already left, there's no need to create more problems. Han Xian waved his hand and said, he is just an insignificant figure. Of course, the reason why Han Xian said that was because he did not know that the person who killed his grandson was a subordinate of the young man's father. Otherwise he would not have let Duan Lingtian go. He might even take action himself. On the other hand, when the Greenwave Han Mansion's Mansion Master, Han Jiangtian, found out that Duan Lingtian had left the Greenwave Han Mansion, he was also a little agitated. I hope little Tian's friend really has the strength to defeat the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion and kill him. In that case, there's no need for me to make a move, and the Greenwave Han Mansion won't be implicated. Han Jiangtian thought. Of course this was the best outcome. He had also prepared for the worst. If Duan Lingtian's friend could not kill the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion, he would have no choice but to make a move himself. At that time he would not care about the safety of the Greenwave Han Mansion and his own safety anymore. He only hoped that his daughter would be able to live a happy and carefree life. It did not cross Han Jiangtian's mind that Duan Lingtian's friend, who seemed to be from a quasi-third-rate force, was actually fabricated by Duan Lingtian. Naturally, he was not lying when he said he wanted the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion to die in the Rising Sky ranking battle. However, the person who would make a move was not the friend he made up, but himself. He did not say it out loud because he thought Han Jiangtian would not believe him if he said he was confident he could kill the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion in a year's time. After all, in Han Jiangtian's opinion, he was just a Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator not long ago. Even if he could kill a Saint stage powerhouse, he would only kill a pristine Saint stage powerhouse who had just broken through to the pristine Saint stage. The difference between a pristine Saint stage powerhouse and a refined Saint stage powerhouse was like heaven and earth. Therefore, it was impossible for Han Jiangtian to think he could kill the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion in a year's time. In fact, it was not only Han Jiangtian who thought it was impossible. Even Duan Lingtian was not completely confident he could kill the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion. During his conversation with Han Jiangtian, he had also learned about some of the rules of the Rising Sky ranking battle. In the Rising Sky ranking battle, even Saint weapons were not allowed, let alone Dao talismans and other external forces. Since Saint weapons were not allowed, it meant Saint inscriptions were not allowed as well. In other words, Duan Lingtian would not be able to use the Jasper Celestial Sword in the Rising Sky ranking battle a year later. In fact, ever since Duan Lingtian had broken through to the Saint stage a few days ago, he was confident he could kill a refined Saint stage powerhouse with the Jasper Celestial Sword. If he channeled all his strength into the Jasper Celestial Sword, he was confident he could even kill a powerhouse at the peak of the refined Saint stage. Moreover, it was said that the young Mansion Master of Rising Sky Mansion might only be at the intermediate refined Saint stage. With the Jasper Celestial Sword, Duan Lingtian would only need to channel 20% of his true origin to kill an intermediate refined Saint stage martial or Dao cultivator. To be more precise, he only needed to channel 20% of his Sun true origin. A few days ago, after he had successfully broken through the last shackle and broken through to the Saint stage, the true energy in his body had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. The benefits of Elder Hua's help in enlightening him were beginning to show. First of all, his true origin had transformed into the Sun true origin. It was much more powerful than an ordinary true origin. It even felt like it was a level higher than the true origin of an ordinary pristine Saint stage martial or Dao cultivator. Currently, he could easily defeat an ordinary pristine Saint stage powerhouse with just his true origin. Even if he faced a powerhouse at the peak of the pristine Saint stage, he was confident he could defeat him if he unleashed his full strength without using the Jasper Celestial Sword. Naturally, it was still impossible for him to defeat an early refined Saint stage powerhouse since he had just broken through to the Saint stage. He was still not familiar with the Sun true origin in his body. Once he familiarized himself with the Sun true origin in his body, he would be able to use it as though it was his own arm. At that time, he was confident he would be able to fight an early refined Saint stage powerhouse without using the Jasper Celestial Sword. At that time, an early refined Saint Stage martial or Dao cultivator who was slightly weaker might not be a match for him. After all, his advantage was not only limited to the Sun True origin, he also had a powerful fleshly body, the strange pupil, and the sovereign heart sword. Naturally, since the sovereign heart sword was still at the first stage, it did not have much of an advantage compared to the Earth-rank Saint-grade martial tactics cultivated by Saint-stage powerhouses. I still have a year. No, I should say 5 years. Even if I deduct the time I have to go to the Rising Sky Mansion, I still have more than 4 years. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself as his eyes shone brightly. Indeed, although the Rising Sky ranking battle would be held a year later, to Duan Lingtian who possessed the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda, a year in the outside world was equivalent to 5 years in the 3rd level of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. Even if he deducted the time he had to travel, he still had more than 4 years. Due to this reason and the fact that he had plenty of time, he was so confident in front of Han Zhangtian. Naturally, although he had plenty of time, he did not dare to be careless. No matter what, Han Zhangtian was the young master of a 4th-rate force. Even if he did not have any saint inscriptions or Dao talismans to rely on, he would still be stronger than an ordinary martial or Dao cultivator at the same level. Chapter 1659. However, Duan Lingtian did not expect this at all. He did not lie when he told Han Zhangtian that he had a friend from a quasi-third-rate force. This was because the Azure Cloud Mansion his father controlled was one of the quasi-third-rate forces in the Debussy Subterranean. The Azure Cloud Mansion was much more powerful than the Rising Sky Mansion. The two of them were not on the same level at all. Naturally, this was because Duan Lingtian did not know his father was the leader of a quasi-third-rate force. Otherwise, all he had to do was inform his father, and it would only take a word from his father to cancel the engagement between Han Xuanai and the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. When Duan Lingtian left the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate and even the Greenwave Han Mansion district, a shocking piece of news spread to the Greenwave Han Mansion from the direction of the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion. It also shocked everyone in the Greenwave Han Mansion district. The Devil Seal Tablet, one of the Super Saint weapons on the 10 Great Saint weapons ranking, had actually appeared. Moreover, it was in the hands of a Duan Lingtian, an eminent Saint Stage martial cultivator. For a time, the name Duan Lingtian swept through the entire Greenwave Han Mansion district along with the Devil Seal Tablet, causing everyone in the Greenwave Han Mansion district to know about this name. The legendary Devil Seal Tablet has actually appeared? That's right. It said that it appeared in the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion in the hands of an eminent Saint Stage martial cultivator. With the help of the Devil Seal Tablet, he can even kill a pristine Saint Stage Devil cultivator instantly. An eminent Saint Stage Devil cultivator instantly killed a pristine Saint Stage Devil cultivator. Looks like the legend is true. The Devil Seal Tablet does have a shocking ability to restrain devil cultivators. If I can obtain the Devil Seal Tablet, even a refined Saint Stage Devil cultivator won't be a match for me. Humph? How can a mere eminent Saint Stage guy possess the Devil Seal Tablet? If I know where he is, I'll immediately rush over to kill him and snatch the Devil Seal Tablet away. Stop dreaming. Even if I want to kill him, it won't be your turn. Similar discussions were rampant in the Greenwave Han Mansion's district. As long as one knew the meaning of the Devil Seal Tablet, there was not a single person who did not want to obtain it. A portion of people knew their place and were only watching this matter with the mentality of watching a good show. A portion of the people did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, clamoring to find Duan Lingtian and seize the demon-sealing tombstone from him. Meanwhile, more and more people began to pay attention to the eminent Saint Stage martial cultivator called Duan Lingtian. As the news continued to spread from the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion, the Greenwave Han Mansion was once again in an uproar. Duan Lingtian was a young genius martial cultivator who was not even 40 years old. With his cultivation base at the eminent Saint Stage, he managed to kill the strongest person on the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's heaven ranking who had broken through to the Saint Stage. Then he even used the Devil Seal Tablet's mysterious technique to deceive everyone present and successfully escaped from the scene. That Duan Lingtian is not even 40 years old? He's not even 40 years old, but he already possesses the Devil Seal Tablet. Not only that, but he's actually so strong to be able to kill a Saint Stage powerhouse with his cultivation base at the eminent Saint Stage. Moreover, his opponent was not even a devil cultivator. Although the strongest person on the Southern Ridge Yuan Mansion's heaven ranking had just broken through to the Saint Stage, he's still at the Saint Stage. The difference between the Saint Stage and the non-Saint Stage is like heaven and earth. This is an ironclad rule in the Dao martial saint land. However, he managed to kill a saint stage powerhouse with his cultivation base at the imminent saint stage. Moreover, it was an instant kill. Unbelievable. I think he might have used a very high-grade Dao talisman. That Dao talisman could be combined with his true energy to form a sword technique to kill Lin Dong. That's possible. However, he's just someone from a 6th-rate saint nation under the southern Ridge Yuan mansion. How could he have such a high-grade Dao talisman? Don't forget that he even has the Devil Seal tablet. The Devil Seal tablet is a super saint weapon that even powerhouses who have surpassed the eminent saint stage would covet. As time went by, some of the things that Duan Lingtian did in the Windfall Nation in the southern Ridge Yuan mansion were also dug out. At once, Duan Lingtian's name spread out in all directions at an extremely fast speed. In the Greenwave Han Mansion's estate, Han Zhengtian, who had heard the news that was spreading outside, could not help but feel his heart tremble even though he was already mentally prepared. Although he had believed Duan Lingtian's words before this, he was still shocked. However, when the news reached his ears from the outside world, it gave him a completely different feeling. Perhaps he'll really be able to help our Greenwave Han Mansion get through this difficult time. Han Zhengtian muttered to himself. When Han Zhengtian learned about the news that was spreading outside, naturally Han Xuanai had also heard about it. When she heard about it, she was very disappointed. It had been quite some time since Duan Lingtian left. She was in a bad mood because of his departure, but she had already recovered a little during this period of time. Now that the news about Duan Lingtian had spread, she could not help but be reminded of her brother Lingtian. Brother Lingtian, you must come back to see me before I get married. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to see you again in the future. At some point in time, tears welled up in Han Xuanai's eyes. She had long heard about the reputation of the young mansion master of Rising Sky Mansion. She knew that he was a complete good-for-nothing rich kid. Apart from being a womanizer, he was also extremely domineering and possessive. Usually, he would use a method close to house arrest to prevent his wives and concubines from leaving his mansion, let alone the Rising Sky Mansion's estate. Due to this reason, once she got married, she might not be able to leave. If she could not leave, naturally, she would not be able to see her brother Lingtian. At this moment, Han Xuanai did not know that her brother Lingtian had already entered the district around the Rising Sky Mansion and was about to enter the Rising Sky Mansion soon. As a 4th-rate force in the Debussy subterranean, the Rising Sky Mansion was so powerful that it was only inferior to a few quasi-3rd-rate forces. Although such a force did not deliberately expand its territory, those 5th-rate forces would sensibly offer a large amount of Saint Stones every 10 years to curry favor with it in a large area with it as the center. Due to this reason, with the Rising Sky Mansion as the center, the vast area surrounding the 3 5th-rate forces was known as the Rising Sky Mansion District. Of course, the Greenwave Han Mansion was not in the Rising Sky Mansion District. The district where the Greenwave Han Mansion was located was the district of another 4th-rate force. However, although the Greenwave Han Mansion would also pay tribute to the 4th-rated force with Saint Stones every 10 years, the 4th-rated force would not care about the life and death of the Greenwave Han Mansion. The only thing it could do was to not touch the Greenwave Han Mansion. As for whether the Greenwave Han Mansion would be annihilated or not, it did not care at all. If one Greenwave Han Mansion fell, naturally another Greenwave Han Mansion would rise. This was a world where the strong were revered. This was how cruel and realistic it was. The Rising Sky Mansion district is right in front. Duan Lingtian, who was flying on his flying sword, muttered to himself as he glanced at the mountain range in front of him. After the mountain range, it was the Rising Sky Mansion district. The Rising Sky Mansion district was adjacent to the district of the 4th-rate force above the Greenwave Han Mansion. However, the district where Duan Lingtian was currently located did not belong to the Greenwave Han Mansion. Instead, it belonged to another 5th-rate force. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.